Morning. The council will come to order. Please use the e-vote application to record your presence at this time.
Please vote from your device. Remember to hit refresh and cast your vote. The voting is now open. They're working on it. He's coming to fix it.
Anyone requiring assistance, please raise your hand, and a member of the clerk's staff will come to assist you. Alderman Sawyer needs assistance.
I got 27 so far.
I will now call on aldermen who have not cast their vote electronically for a voice vote. For your quorum roll call. Alderman King? Alderman King is present. Alderman Harrison is not present. Alderman Mitchell? Alderman Beal is present. Alderman Burke? Alderman Burke is not present. Alderman Lopez is present. Alderman Coleman? Not present. Alderman David Moore? Alderman David Moore? Oh, you just hit it? Okay. Present. Alderman Jeanette Taylor? Alderman Taylor? I'm sorry, Alderman Curtis? Alderman Curtis is present. Alderman Taylor? Alderman Taylor is not present. Alderman Brookins? Brookins is present. Alderman Rodriguez? Rodriguez is present. Sorry if I can't see it updated. Alderman Cicho Lopez is present. Alderman Maldonado is present. Alderman Ramirez Rosa is present. Alderman Mitz is not present. Alderman Gardner? Alderman Gardner, not present. Ramirez Rosa is here. The voting is now closed.
There are 43 members present. We have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation, which will be delivered by Pastor Ileana Zejas of Grace and Peace Church. Pastor, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. What an honor it is to see you all here. It is, again, an honor and a pleasure to be here. Let us take a moment and ask the Holy Spirit to be with us as you all make decisions for our great city. Let us put our heads down, please. Heavenly Father, I come before you today asking for your guidance, for your wisdom, for your support as our wonderful mayor leads this great city council meeting. May you lead our appointed leaders to make wise decisions for our wonderful city. May they be convicted by your Holy Spirit. May them lead with conviction, putting the needs of our children, our elderly, and our families first. Thank you, Father God, for such a blessing and such an honor to be able to be in this position to do your work and your will here for this great, amazing city of Chicago. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen and amen and amen. Thank you.
All right, next up, ladies and gentlemen, is public comment. Mr. Clerk.
The council will now begin the public comment period, which is limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Speakers cannot yield or transfer their time to another speaker. Any written comments that have been submitted will be posted and made available for aldermanic review. Our first speaker today is Sahar Punjwani.
Hello, my name is Sahar Panjwani. I'm a tenant organizer with Not Me We. I'm here today to discuss the treatment of tenants of Catalyst Realty buildings in South Shore, who we've been working with since February. Between New Year's Eve 2022 and January 31st, tenants in these buildings did not have any heat and only intermittently had hot water. Throughout this process, tenants faced a myriad of impacts on their mental and physical health. Tenants were forced to move to a hotel in the middle of their workdays because the building did not meet code, which was extremely stressful. Following this, folks were shown new units that had a host of new issues such as mold, doors that did not lock, and pests. And while all of this was happening, folks had to pack up their belongings from the hotel every morning in case they could not come back that night, call in from work to deal with these things and make sure medication was secured and take care of their kids. This was a huge mental stress for tenants. Because of everything that was occurring, some folks lost jobs, people's kids got sick, and those with medical conditions were exacerbated. We have called on the CEO of Catalyst Realty, Tyler Giroux, to meet the demands of the tenants, which include compensation for the suffering that the tenants have faced, as well as any purchases they made at the hotel since their original displacement, having reasonable rent in new units, and getting access to an exterminator in new units. We have also contacted Alderwoman Leslie Harrison of the 5th Ward to help us hold Catalyst Realty accountable. And so we call on her again today and the mayor to help us publicly by calling out Catalyst Realty for their mistreatment of tenants. This is also why we need access to policies and services such as an Office of the Tenant Advocate and a right to return that would be included in a community benefits agreement for South Shore. Because of the Obama Center that's coming in, landlords will continue to push people out of their homes for profit, and we need policies that will protect folks against this displacement and treatment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is George Blakemore.
Good morning to Lady Lightfoot. You just been the greatest mayor that this city have ever had. The greatest. These other mayors never had a pandemic. They never had Black Lives Matter. Now, after this saga is over, to all of you, we're going to see if things going to get better. Because waste, fraud, and abuse been here. It's a culture of corruption here. So it's up to you, the citizens. So Lady Lightfoot wasn't your problem. You're your own problem. And to my black I don't even know if I want to call you brothers and sisters. How could you do this? Have such a great mayor already in place, and why would 6 of you all run against her? You black ones. Did they have 6 running against Paul Ballard, 6 whites? No. Did they have 6 Hispanic? No. They had 6 alphabet ends. Why would you do this when you have a sitting mayor that's competent, professional? You know why? Because she cleaned up the swamp. She got rid of the black ones, the white ones, the Hispanic one. She cleaned it up, and I advocated for her to be another 4 years. You know, if you want good government, go to the mirror. Look at you. What do you do? And you want to lay it on Lady Lightfoot. But she's not your problem. You're your problem. Bert been here 50 years. So all of them. Corruption is known here in the city of Chicago. The city that doesn't work. And especially it doesn't work for the black people. And Mr. Blake will get on another topic right quick now. All the illegals that's coming over, they're going to have an ordinance about the snow removal. You know what? You can make them work. Free. Don't tax the people. Make them that wade across the Rio Grande to come from the Ukraine over here, make them work. You're housing them. You're educating them. You're feeding them. You're giving them health care. Make them work. Make them a little indentured servant. Or maybe you can make them a little slave like America did the black man, working for nothing. That's right. You got all these immigrants coming in, new Americans. What's wrong with the old Americans? The black America, enslaved in America. Don't go there with me. God bless you, Lady Lightfoot.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore, for your comments. Thank you, Mr. Blakemore, for your comments. Our next speaker is Dixon Romeo.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, committee. Good morning, the mayor. I'm speaking in position of Dixon. My name is Minister C.V. Miles, S-I-V-I-M-I-L-E-S. And I'm one of the tenants in Catalyst Realty that Sahar spoke on earlier. And I just really want to just give my experience from a tenant's point of view since December 22nd that I can remember is when we had no heat. We had no heat. I had to go through my children waking up on Christmas morning in the cold, trying to open up their toys. And I haven't been placed. I just recently got placed into a unit February 9th. So from December 22nd, we had no heat, and then they did put us in a hotel room. They gave us hotels. We were in hotels for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and I just recently, on February 9th, we recently got placed into apartments. But some of their promises were not delivered. We were told that past due rent would be taken care of. We were told that they would help us with moving expenses. We were told that our rent would stay the same if we had to move to different units. None of those things have happened. My rent, on my own, my rent has increased by $300. I had to move my 2-bedroom apartment by myself because Catalyst Realty gave no assistance. There's actually other people still in the units that were condemned by the city because the city condemned the building. That's why we went to the hotels. And once they got certain people's heat back on, they told them they had to return after they already showed them different apartments, the same promises. So it just feels like one of the reasons that I just wanted to bring this to this floor's attention is we still are trying to fight for some type of justice. We're still trying to fight for some type of ratification for what they've done with the stress. We haven't had any help from any attorneys that we reached out to. And yes, the 311 system also, I wanted to speak on. We reported this to 311 every day. Me and my wife both did every day. But when we spoke to people from the city, they said they only had 7 calls. So we all used it on the app. So if the app isn't recognized, then that needs to be understood, because it should be maybe over 50 complaints on just during that time of having no heat, but they only say they got 7 calls. Most of the people did their complaints on 311. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your comments. As a reminder, please remember that all speakers must sign up to speak, and speakers cannot yield or transfer their time to another speaker. Thank you. Our next speaker is William Kelly.
Mayor Lightfoot, you and I may have gotten off on the wrong foot. Reporter, WilliamJKelly.com. I'm a veteran reporter in the city of Chicago, Emmy Award-winning TV host, radio, print journalism. I should be sitting over there with my colleagues, but I'm standing over here because on a weekly basis I was going viral asking you obvious questions. And instead of answering them, you told me that crime was down, my videos went viral, millions of views, comments, likes, and shares, and it was hurting your re-election campaign. So you revoked my media credential. That should never happen in a free country. And I'm asking the City Council to take the media credential process away from the next mayor of Chicago and the next superintendent of police, and put it in the hands of the Constitution. What you've done to the city of Chicago, I feel like this is more of a victim impact statement than an actual public comment. What you've done to me is nothing compared to what you've done to my city, the city of Chicago, the city that I was born and raised in, the city that I love with all my heart. You became mayor. The people of Chicago elected you. You shut down our schools, you shut down the churches, you shut down the businesses. You did the one thing that I thought could never happen. As somebody who was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, I never thought in my life that I would ever see the city of Chicago brought down so low as you have managed to bring it down. Shame on you. That is a legacy that you are going to have to carry. Future historians are going to have a hard time understanding how you ever even became mayor of the city of Chicago. I intend to write that book. I intend to make sure that at least there is some possible way for the city of Chicago to move forward. I hope that you realize what damage you have done to the city. I hope that after today's city council meeting, you will pack your suitcase and get the hell out of my city.
Mr. Kelly,
You are a pandemic. You are a pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for your comments. Our next speaker is Taris Hainu.
Check, check. Hello, my name is Taras Hernio, and I am a Chicago resident, and I also work at O'Hare Airport. The Chicago Department of Aviation, the CDA, which oversees the airport, is also part of the city administration, and that's why I'm here today speaking to you. I would like to make the council aware as to the situation with employee parking. If you do not work for American or United Airlines, of which there are dozens of other companies that do business O'Hare, then our employee parking is in the city-owned E-lot. Every day, thousands of employees use that parking lot, and our transit time from the lot to the terminals is approximately 25 to 30 minutes one way, meaning that each day we lose 50 to 60 minutes of our day just getting to and from our cars at O'Hare, not including our time commuting to or from the airport. Currently, we need to board a bus to take us to the multimodal facility, or the MMF, where we board the ATS or the O'Hare People Mover, or the famous tram that's been late for years. And that takes us to the terminals. We have been put in e-lots to park far away because it's out of the way, and the Chicago Department of Aviation does not consider the time that we lose each day getting to or from our cars. It would speed things up significantly if we did not have to take a bus to get to the People Mover station. There is an old station at Elot, as that was the old terminus of the People Mover before the expansion to the new multimodal facility. However, the CDA has chosen to keep that station closed and bus us instead to the MMF. There have been many rumors, but no actual information as to why the CDA refuses to reopen the Elot People Mover station. From a cost standpoint, I also find it hard to believe that it will be cheaper to run a bus service in perpetuity rather than to reopen an already built station on the People Mover train. I am asking the City Council to please look into this matter and demand some accountability from the CDA and reopen the Elot People Mover station. Doing so will not only save employees about 30 minutes in transit time each day, but will also cost less to the city in the long run, as will alleviate the need for busing services in perpetuity at the airport. If anyone has further questions, I may be reached at 773-892-2897. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernu, for your comments. Our next speaker is Jeremy Fritsch.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. My name is Jeremy Frisch, and I live in Ward 44. Our son was born in April 2020, and one of the only things we could safely do during his first couple winters during the pandemic is to go on walks outside. Even though many of our neighbors would dutifully clear their sidewalk, there was always one house per block that didn't. Maybe they were out of town, didn't get to it, or only cleared a small path not wide enough for our strollers. It just takes one home or business to make the sidewalk impassable for someone with limited mobility in a wheelchair or maneuvering a stroller. The current system is not and will never work, and we need to come up with something more equitable. The system of snow reports on 311, leading to warnings and sometimes fines, does not and will never work. Even if the city increased enforcement, there would still be tons of impassable blocks. It just takes one property owner to make a block impassable. Fines are also inequitable. Not every property owner is capable of shoveling or paying someone to do it. While 311 reports won't get the majority of sidewalks cleared, it does offer a glimpse of the problem. There have been almost 20,000 reports citywide since 2019. Given how cumbersome it is to file a 311 report, imagine how many unplowed sidewalks there actually are in the city. Almost every ward had over 100 reports the last 3 winters, with Alderman Wagner's leading with 1,409 reports. Here's just a sample of wards and the number of reports. Ward 2 with 693, Ward 3 with 421, Ward 7 with 101, Ward 8 with 214, Ward 11 with 359, Ward 12 with 197, Ward 13 with 114, Ward 15 with 101, Ward 16 with 109, Ward 17 with 140, Ward 18 with 126, Ward 19 with 160, Ward 23 with 234, Ward 24 with 152, Ward 26 with 597, Ward 27 with 714, Ward 28 with 307, Ward 29 with 146, Ward 37 with 107, Ward 38 with 323, Ward 39 with 584, Ward 41 with 268, Ward 42 with 391, my Ward 44 with 893, and Ward 45 with 412. The city chose to clear the road network of snow, yet only 2/3 of Chicagoans own cars. 100% of Chicagoans use the sidewalk network. Toronto is sitting with the same population as
Thank you, Mr. Frisch, for your comments. Our next speaker is Lindsay Howard. We can hear you. Hello. Ms. Howard, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Ms. Frisch. Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Steph Funk. Our next speaker is May Poi.
My name is May Choi. Thank you for this opportunity to speak before you. I want to ask the City Council to please vote no on number 21176-2024 for the plan development at 1061 Hampton.
Well, since this person...
The one and the only development meeting anyhow on December 16th, and everyone there was in opposing to this development because of various concerns. And I want to highlight two of those. And I want to speak to the lack of transparency and that this is simply done in bad faith. There's a follow a community process where everyone at a community meeting, it's the first time they hear about it, that they were opposed to it, had serious concerns, but yet it moves forward. This is done in bad faith. And I don't think that a community process works. You know, for this development or anything that CPD is doing. Basically, what it comes down to, and it's submitted as part of my written record, is the lack of parking for this unit. So they 374 units, 125 parking spaces, which
Ms. Poi, thank you very much for your comments. However, your time has expired. Our next speaker is Mecca Bey. Our next speaker is Lou Weeks. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Weeks, for your comments. Your Honor, there are no further speakers who have timely signed up for the public comment period.
All right, this concludes the public comment period, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, resolutions. Today we have 3 resolutions. A memorial resolution for Lawrence Massall, a resolution honoring Principal Aaron Rucker, Salvatore Botto, and the staff at Ryder Math and Science Specialty School for their heroic actions in response to an armed assailant, and a resolution honoring Women's History Month. The chair recognizes Alderman Mitchell.
Good morning, Madam President. I move for the temporary suspension of the rules for the immediate consideration of these resolutions.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Ladies and gentlemen, the first resolution is a memorial resolution for Lawrence Massall. In the box are his wife, Nicola Hill, Donovan Pepper, Chairman of the Board for Civic Federation and Senior Director of Government Relations and Civic Engagement for Walgreens, Dan Spree, Civic Federation Board of Directors, Managing Director at J.P. Morgan Chase, Dia Meyer, Sarah Wetmore, Acting President of the Civic Federation, Vice President and Research Director at the Federation, and I don't have the other names, so thank you all for being here.
Who's the managing director of J.P. Morgan Chase?
Is it? The chair recognizes Alderman Sawyer.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam President, members of the body. I rise to stand up in support of this resolution. I had the pleasure of knowing, as I knew, Larry Massall before he became truly respectable and became Lawrence Massall from our great St. Ignatius High School, and I really had great times talking to him over the years. He was always a wealth of information and always gave good advice. I had the pleasure of talking to him maybe 4 or 5 days before his unfortunate situation, and he was always upbeat. He was telling me he had to go have a procedure done, but he was still giving me answers, giving me advice, and I really appreciate that, Nicola. And I want to say bless you for allowing him to spend time with us here at City Council and all throughout the city. He was a class act individual, and he will be missed tremendously. God bless you and your family. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Alderman Sawyer. The chair recognizes Alderman Osterman.
I too want to remember Lawrence Massall and give the condolences to his wife and family. Lawrence Massall, I had the opportunity to work with both in Springfield and City Council, and he was rare in that he held such respect amongst the elected people that he worked with. Elected officials by nature think that they know it more than anybody else, and rarely ask for help and assistance, but Lawrence had most of us on his phone and was always willing to sit down and talk to us about issues related to government and how we pay for government. throughout his career, the way he carried himself, the way he testified on budgets, the way he gave advice in a firm way, but in a way that cared about people. The programs that we fund in the state government, the city government, it's all about what we can do to help people. And he knew that if we don't have the money to do it, there's going to be people throughout our communities and city that would suffer, and that we had to be stewards of taxpayer money for the long haul. But it's how he did it. He did it in a very welcoming, friendly, open, collegial way that is rare in government. And it's tragic that he's not here with us, but his remembrance and what he did with so many people, while he was not voting on budgets, he had an impact. And the impact is not on just the budget book, but how that money is spent to truly help people throughout the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. So all of us will remember him and the role he had and the impact he had on our lives, but also on the people that are impacted by government. So our thoughts are with you.
Thank you, Alderman Osterman. The chair recognizes Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Madam President. I definitely stand in support of this resolution. Also be missed so much, especially by me. I had a system of how I dealt with the budget, and that's going through the summary first, reading what the administration had put out, and then trying to get an overall assessment of my thoughts of the budget before going into the details themselves. But then I used to gauge myself based on to see was I close to saying something that Lawrence had said, and because if it was, then I was probably right. But then if the things that I missed, then I went into the details to look for that. I'm going to miss that because it really helped me make sound decisions, not only for my residents in the 17th Ward, but for the residents of the city of Chicago. What he did was value added to this city. And I just pray and hope, but no one can fill his shoes. Let me just be clear about that. But I just hope we get someone step along that is as somewhat competent, at least half as competent as he was, because he was a total asset and it was a benefit to the entire city of Chicago. And I can definitely attest to that. So thank you all so much for sharing him with us, and I will continue personally to keep you all in my prayers. God bless you.
Thank you, Alderman Moore. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Dow.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise to be associated with this resolution. I want to express on behalf of the residents of the 3rd Ward our greatest sympathy to the Masal family. Lawrence was like, and I know him as Lawrence, was like E.F. Hutton. When he spoke, people listened. And I think as a alderman prior to becoming the budget chair, I always look forward to hearing his cogent analysis of the budget. It helped me make a decision on how I would vote. As the budget chair, I have always reached out to him from time to time to get his thoughts on different things we were looking at. I recall having a meeting with him on the pension obligation bonds when that was being considered. And his deep analysis of the tax increment financing strategies was something that I really appreciated. So I want you to know that he left an indelible mark on the city council and on this city, and we thank you so much for sharing him with us. God bless you.
Any other members of the body that wish to speak to this resolution? The chair recognizes Alderman Burke.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, I'm honored to be able to stand and join with the mayor and the members of the council today in paying tribute to Lawrence. And even though I knew him for decades, especially during the 32 years I served as chairman of the Committee on Finance, and had the utmost respect and admiration for his knowledge and for his personal character, my admiration and respect could never come close to the admiration and respect in which he was held by my wife, the retired Chief Justice of the Illinois Supreme Court. We had the privilege of not only praying for the repose of his soul at his funeral, we had the privilege of joining with his family and friends for his wedding. I can't begin to tell you how much Ann admired and truly loved Lawrence, especially in the last several years when they worked together on so many of these interesting projects. Many of us who went to law school learned in first year of law school a Latin phrase, sui generis. It appears so often in briefs and pleadings. Sui generis translates into one of a kind. And if I could just in one short statement explain what our feeling was about Lawrence, he was sui generis. He was truly one of a kind. May he rest in peace, and may his wife and family take comfort, along with all the friends and people whose lives he has touched, knowing that he left this world a better place than that in which he found it. God bless him.
Any other members that wish to speak to this resolution? This is a moment that's bittersweet. I remember so clearly when I heard the news about Lauren's impending death. I cried a lot of tears that day. I woke up the next day and cried more. And you know, Nicola, that I reached out to you to just offer my condolences, which I knew probably felt like empty words given the size and enormity of the loss that you and your children were feeling. You've heard from members of the body, and you know this to be true, that Lawrence was somebody who was revered, both here in City Council, Mayor's office, and Springfield and Governor's office. He was someone that played it straight, who deeply cared about good government and gave it his all to help us see things that we may not have otherwise been seeing, not just from a budgetary standpoint, but for the issues of the day. I spoke in front of the Civic Committee many times, long before I became mayor, and certainly long before any thoughts of running for mayor. And every single time, Lawrence treated me with dignity and respect. He became a close confidant of mine in my 4 years as mayor, and I will just desperately miss him. I would tell you there's many times where some issues come up in the last month or so since his passing, where I thought, I'll call Lawrence, only recognize that wasn't possible. So I just want to say, on behalf of myself, on behalf of our family and my wife, but also on behalf of the city of Chicago, who were the beneficiaries of his wise counsel, his hard work, that we love him, we will always love him, and we extend to you our heartfelt condolences. And obviously, if there's anything that we can ever do to help, we stand ready to do it, and I stand ready to do it personally. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, it's my understanding that Lawrence's wife, Nicola, would like to make a few remarks to the body. Can I get a motion to grant her the privilege of speaking? Hearing no objection, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mayor Lightfoot, City Council members, and guests. From the bottom of my heart, that was a beautiful tribute. As you all know, Lawrence was a special person. Not only did he love his huge family, especially his children, growing number of grandkids, and so many friends, but he also loved the people he worked with, and the people at the Civic Federation, and everybody. If you worked with Lawrence, you became his friend. It's just, that's what happened. He might have disagreed with you, but he still cared about you. He was somebody who was passionate about Chicago and the state of Illinois, and literally every day woke up wanting to help both. He would have truly been honored and humbled today. And again, on behalf of our family, I thank you.
Thank you. Our next resolution is one honoring Principal Aaron Rucker, Salvatore Botto, and the staff at Ryder Math and Science Specialty School for their heroic actions in response to an armed assailant. We'll give them an opportunity to fill the box. And for those of you who are not aware, let me just give a few details so I can set the context for the reason that we're having this resolution honoring these folks. On the morning of August 31st, 2022, 367 kindergarten to 8th grade students and parents were on the playground at William H. Ryder Math and Science Specialty School, located at 8716 South Wallance, waiting for the school day to begin. At around 8:40 a.m., an armed assailant began firing bullets from a moving vehicle towards the crowded playground. Upon hearing the shots, Ryder's principal, Aaron Rucker, sprang into action and directed the staff to initiate a hard lockdown of the school. And as a consequence, saved, no doubt, numbers of lives of the faculty and staff. And so for those acts of bravery, we are honoring Principal Rucker here today. And my understanding is in the box is Principal Rucker, Jamila Clay, Assistant Principal, Salvatore Botto, Building Engineer, Octavian Allen, Technology Coordinator, Michael Dunlop, Special Education Classroom Assistant, Dwight Hill, Special Education Classroom Assistant, Mika Dixon, Teacher Assistant, Linda Moore, Teacher Assistant, and Matthew Kuzak, Supervisor. Are there any members of the body that wish to speak to this resolution? The chair recognizes Alderman Brookins.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of this resolution because, one, Ryder is an excellent institution in my ward. It went from a level 3 school to a level 1+ school with the leadership of Principal Rucker and his team. Principal Rucker is a shining example of an African-American role model for anybody in my ward and in this country. He served in the armed services, but he was also a Chicago police officer. he left being a Chicago police officer to do a harder job, and that is to train young minds on the south side of Chicago. It is hard for me to be jovial and joking today because I learned some information from Principal Rucker that he is stepping down due to an illness. And I count him as a friend, as a mentor, as a person that truly deserves the respect and honor in our community. And I wish him all of the best, and hopefully you'll recover from this thing, man. But we really need you on the south side. God bless you and your team.
Thank you, Alderman Brookins. Are there any other members that wish to speak to this resolution? The chair recognizes Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, members of the City Council. I rise in support of this resolution, but more specifically in support of everyone who stood up to be counted that day to protect our children at what should have been an otherwise safe environment. We have seen now more and more examples of our schools and of safe spaces in our neighborhood being locations where our children have to witness the trauma and horror of gang and drug-fueled gun violence in our neighborhoods. Just a few weeks ago, we saw Officer Andres Vasquez Lasso gunned down while responding to a domestic violence situation in front of children in a playground at Sayers School in Gage Park. While his fellow officers were responding heroically, while the school staff was working to protect the children and the community, a scene that we are here talking about as well, we cannot lose sight of the fact that this is the Chicago that we are leaving our children at this point in time. It is shameful, it is outrageous, and it must stop. We are honored to have heroes among us today who did right by our communities. But all of us that remain, all of us that are returning, and all of those that are here with us, and we have a number of members who will be joining us in the next term, must commit ourselves to ensuring that our children no longer have to deal with this violence, this senseless violence where they grow up in a neighborhood, in a home, where their parents don't know how to respond to the terrors that they see when they close their eyes at night, when they still have to listen to the gunshots and the screaming, and when they could still envision the smoke plumes rising in their neighborhoods in front of them. This body, this building, must stand with those heroes that were here today, not just for some piece of paper, but where it really matters in the streets, where it really matters in our neighborhoods, and where we show our children a different cycle of life than what they're used to seeing that is fueled by the gang and drug violence impacting us all. Allow me to say I'm thankful to all of you for standing up and doing what you were trained to do, doing what was natural to you, like so many of our true heroes do. And now it's incumbent upon us to return their actions with our own. Thank you, Madam President.
The chair recognizes Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Madam President. It was with hesitation when you were asking who to speak after Alderman Brookins spoke, because as I was prepared to speak then, Alderman Brookins added other statements, because as I met Mr. Rucker in the back, and then finding out that he was also a former police officer, it just reminds me of these are the people in leadership that we need. But when Howard Brookins said, for whatever reason, and we'll be praying, brother, for you, that you won't be returning, that sort of tore at my heart, because it is so far and few between that you find those talents of people who just want to serve. You were a police officer because you want to serve. You became a teacher because you want to serve. And that's what it's all about, finding people who want to serve. But I wanted people to take, as I also commend everybody else who's a part of that, because no man is an island unto himself. But leadership is important, and how leadership responds is important. And I have no doubt, and somebody is saying, well, he did what he was supposed to do. You know what? You don't know what you're going to do sometimes until you're in that situation. And I have no doubt that your training from when you were a police officer kicked in. Because some people, including myself, are like, get down, just get down, do all that and scare them. Then all of a sudden somebody down getting shot. You followed the correct actions along with your team that undoubtedly, as the mayor said, save lives. Things that don't get put in the paper heavily, because we only can calculate when the life is gone and not highlight when the lives are saved. And so for that, I stand up in support of this resolution. I honor you for the person you are, for the man that you are, for the leader that you are, and for the servant that you are. God bless you, brother.
Thank you, Alderman Moore. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Haddon.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise in support of this resolution, and just wanted to thank you all, and to also reflect on everything that our colleagues have said. We're living in really difficult times. You guys shouldn't be here, right? Like we shouldn't have to honor you for what you did, because it shouldn't be happening, especially not at our schools. And the reality is that it is happening. We've got violence, we've got not just gun violence, we have so many threats to our health and our well-being of not just our children, but ourselves every day. So I thank you for what you've done and what you continue to do. And I also hope that you are getting the care that you need, that you're getting the time and the support that you need, so that you can not only heal from the traumatic incident that you lived through, but so that you can recover, so that you can continue to serve our kids and our community. So I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Alderwoman Haddon. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Coleman.
Thank you, Madam President. I undoubtedly support this resolution. And as Chairman Brookins was speaking of your leadership, all I could think about was Mr. Clark and your leadership. And I would imagine you are the Mr. Clark of Ryder Elementary. I have students from Inglewood who attends this wonderful institution. And hearing you take your school from level 3 to level 1+ is to be commended. And I do not see many African-American male principals. I only have 2 out of 18 schools in my ward. So I know how a gem you are and your team is to the students at your school. And I also sit and reflect, had one of our students or had anyone in the school gotten shot, this would have made national news. So Madam President and Chairman Brookins, thank you for bringing this, our unsung hero, to our city and to our council, and to each and every one of you for standing in to protect our babies, our future. And then I see your commander sitting behind you, and how important it is for our leadership to partner and know one another. So again, I commend you for getting out and knowing who your commanders are and who the representatives are at your school, because truly it takes a village. As I'm sure through your 8th grade students and seeing them excel, I know that they have someone who they will always look up to as their Mr. Clark. God bless you. I pray that your healing takes place, and whenever you feel like coming back and returning to serve our students in our city, I pray that you do. Don't leave us. And I pray for you and your family and for the next leadership of this wonderful institution. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Coleman. Any other members of the body that wish to speak to this resolution? I will just say thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being a school that understands the necessity of doing everything that we can to help shape and protect the young minds that you are entrusted with every single day when parents and guardians drop off those children. Although it was obviously an incredibly traumatic experience, I'm confident that those young people will carry with them the fact that the adults that are part of their lives on a day-to-day basis rose to the occasion to protect them. So thank you, one and all, for everything that you do, everything you've done, and I wish you, Principal Rucker, the best as you transition to another chapter in your journey. Thank you. Last resolution, ladies and gentlemen, is in honor of Women's History Month. And we have joining us in the box Shamili Majmudor of Women Employed, Jennifer Welch of Illinois Planned Parenthood, Nicole Robinson, YWCA, Metropolitan Chicago, and Felicia Davis, Chicago Foundation for Women. Are there any members of the body that wish to speak to this resolution? The chair recognizes Alderman Rodriguez.
It's quite an honor, Madam Chair, to stand in association with this resolution with some great friends over there. Felicia and I go back, and much love to you. And the work that you do should be well regarded every day of the year. The work that women do in our society should be regarded positively every minute of the day of the year. I am honored to stand in support of this resolution, honoring, what I said before, what we should be honoring, much more often, and that's the contributions, that's the excellence, that's the fact that our world needs to be a better place for our sisters in society. And I think this is a mere token of, more than a token, I would say, because we are in this esteemed body recognizing this major issue, and women's suffrage, and the investments we need to still make in real equity in our society. So thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak, and I'm so proud to be standing with you today. Thank you.
Any other members of the body that wish to speak, please raise your hand. The chair recognizes Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Madam President. I definitely stand in honor of this, in support of this resolution, honor and support, because I honor women. And starting with you, Mayor, you could be easily sitting over there, but you're sitting up here, which where you belong, and a woman as a leader in our city. And so that's to be commended. And so as we recognize Women's History Month, not only do we recognize these women here for what they do, we recognize you for what you do. But also, from my personal standpoint, you know, I learned a little bit about a few of them, but definitely Felicia Davis, who has done great work, who I've seen, what excite me about what I see about you, and I'm sure other women have done it that's up here, but it's the little girls that want to be you. That's what excites me when I see other young ladies pointing. That's who I want to be like. And so you set an example, knowing sometimes you don't even know who you're putting an impression upon to be that next leader or that next voice here in our city. So I commend all of you all for the work that you do, and every woman that's not only up here, but that's in our council for the work that they do and standing up, making sure that the voices are heard, because still when we look at data, and when you're talking about discrimination, it's still there. Whether it's in hiring, whether it's in making the same money as men does, that fight is still there. And know that you all are not fighting that fight alone. There are men here that, like myself, for sure, that's fighting that fight with you. So God bless you, and definitely honor every woman that is sitting in this place today and throughout this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Moore. The chair recognizes Alderman Espada.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I'm really proud to stand in honor of this resolution. The gender gap is striking to me right now. I'm sure there's more folks to speak, but two things I would briefly say. Like, I think it's really notable for the council that we're having this resolution the day after Equal Pay Day in the United States. The fact that still that gap feels like it remains immovable. The fact that women still make 83% of what men make. And factually, that is even worse for Black and Latino women in the United States. I'm glad that we have leadership that recognizes that is taking strong steps on that, and I appreciate the work that you all do. The list that we could talk about of women who have contributed to this country would be endless, but I particularly want to name Christine Jorgensen, Marsha P. Johnson, Phyllis Fry, and Stephanie Skora. Let's just affirm as a city that trans women are women. Their rights, their protections should always be enshrined in the work that we do, in how we speak. And I'm glad that Chicago is the inclusive, welcoming city that it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Espada. The chair recognizes Alderman Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam President. I also am very proud to be associated with this resolution. I know we talk about the accomplishments of our sisters in the struggle, but I wanted to make sure to speak because it is unconscionable that the fights keep continuing, that there's so much that has been accomplished by women, and even in this moment, across the country, even in our city and state, these attacks are still happening. The fact that we even have to have debates about a woman's right to choose and about making decisions, about equal pay, about hiring, you know, it's commendable that we have a day to recognize in resolution, but I think we need to show the resolve that in everything we think about as a council and everything that we write as far as legislation, we are considering the fact that these fights are not static. They're dynamic, they're constant, and the fact we have to continue fighting is something that we need to all be grounded in. I want to thank the sisters in this council, like Alderwoman Rosana Rodriguez Sanchez, who helped draft the ordinance to make the city, sanctuary city for bodily autonomy. There's so much work to be done. And so I know we talk about ourselves being allies and partners, but I think we need to be honest that many of us who have been here have learned from leaders who are women and been mentored by and don't often provide that recognition. And so in that spirit, I want to let anybody here know that our office will always be open for anything you want us to work on, anything that we need to be fighting on, anywhere we need to be standing with you. It's a moment's notice. Shoot the text message, send the email. We're here because we can't go back, we won't go back, and we'll continue to go forward with you together. So thank you all so much for the work that you do. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Kaplan. Yes, you.
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, stand and rise in recognition of Women's History Month. I learned a lot about sexism when my mom was widowed, raising 8 kids by herself. About 32 years ago, I took a women's studies course, and I had a great professor. I still remember her well. We talked about how subtle sexism is. It's very blatant, but it's also very subtle in the language that we use. The evil witch, the strong warlock, the evil stepmother. We don't hear anything about a stepfather. We look at comic strip characters. They're mostly male. In television shows, the oldest child is a boy, frequently. And it happens over and over and over again. And it's our job as men to be to look at some of those nuances because it affects us all. I play with graphic design and I like to write stories. And after the 2016 presidential election, I went into a state of depression, I will admit. But I wrote a storybook for my twin great nieces, and just is all about empowering them and having them meet Hillary Clinton, who I just loved and adored. But something I recently learned that surprised me. I was helping a woman paint her home. She's a good friend of mine, and she said when I left, make sure you call me when you get home. And I noticed that my staff, I hear the same thing from the women. They say, oh, when you go here, make sure you call me when you get home. I've never heard that from a man. I hear that from women. And I hear that from women for a reason. The most underreported crime in the United States of America is domestic violence. And there's a reason for that. And we need to keep that in our minds as we continue to advocate for women. I was a Franciscan friar and I got in trouble because I refused to refer to God in masculine terms, and I still won't. The way I look at it theologically, the Creator, that's a woman. So if I'm going to refer to God in any type of gender, it would be as a woman, because I've learned so much from them. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Alderman Kappelman. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Haddon.
Thank you, Madam President, for giving me the time to make it back to my seat. Aren't we awesome? Women are pretty awesome. So all the women here today, I want to thank our guests. Madam President, I want to thank you. We can talk about a lot of the reasons why we have to have your organizations. Certainly, I've spent some time in the last week standing with colleagues as we work to make sure that our city continues to be a proactively safe and radically accepting place for women. And we see these fights playing out in every state across our country right now. And it can be really tiring, right, to kind of always be fighting these battles. but I also wouldn't want to be anyone else, right? I enjoy being part of a cohort here in council that is growing. Women in council, we are getting more women in city council, and that is exciting. I enjoy being a part of an active group of organizations and partners like yours throughout the city that are led by women, that are driven by women, and even at the community level, so many of our volunteers are women. Women are leaders in our community. We are natural leaders. We may show up in different ways, and we have to deal with a lot of systemic oppression, but it's still something to celebrate. So I'm really excited to have you guys here today, to be a part of this council, to have so many colleagues who support women, whether you are one or not. I appreciate that we have a body of people who are not women, who also lift up and want to support women leadership. So rising in support of this resolution. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to our guests. And I hope there's a party scheduled. Sometime we have a party, right? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Haddon. Any other members of the body that wish to speak to this resolution? Any other women that want to speak to it? The chair recognizes Alderwoman Sadlowski-Gard.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to rise to say thank you so much for all the work that you do. Felicia, I've had the opportunity to know you for about 8 years now. Everywhere you go, you kick butt and take names. You're awesome. And I'm sure the 3 women sitting next to you are the same. Thank you for all you do. Keep fighting the good fight, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Chair recognizes Alderwoman Harris.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise to be associated with this. I really want to thank all our guests who are absolutely amazing leaders in the roles that they play in supporting women to get things done for us. I say thank you and I appreciate you because it is never easy and nobody makes it easy for us, but yet we keep pounding the pavement to get stuff done. So thank you again on behalf of the residents of the 8th Ward. We appreciate what you're doing to save women like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Harris. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Hairston.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the City Council. I too rise in support of this resolution. You know, it's really strange that we're honoring women, yet we do so much to dishonor them as a country. You know, when I look at the trials and the tribulations that I've been through over my years, it's always been harder because I am a woman. And I know, and I keep thinking that it's going to get better. And yet I see us going backwards as a country, and that hurts me tremendously. So what I want to say to the women in this council here and everywhere is we are strong and we can do this. We've done it before. We're going to have to do it again. And to the men, I'm going to say, put your big girl pants on. Congratulations.
Thank you, Alderwoman Hairston. The chair recognizes Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I rise in support of this resolution, being that I'm in an all-female household, sort of myself, between my daughter, my wife, and my sister-in-law. Women play a very important role in my life. If my mother moves in, that would be another one, but fortunately, she has her own place, and I don't have to, as in the 5th Ward, yes, you are correct. But again, the importance that we find that in our community especially, that women have played and continue to play in the black community, have been the backbone of our existence. And so I do rise in support of that. Furthermore, we talk about equal pay day. Actually, my wife makes more money than I do, and I have no problem with that. And again, hey, there's nothing wrong with the wife bringing home the bacon and frying it too. So I'm not against that at all. So, and I fry the bacon as well. But I fry it too. So, but we are all, as I say, but we are all, hey, it's okay. I'm equal here. It's all good. But again, I really just want to stress the importance that women have played in the African American community from our times of coming to this country to the roles that they continue to play today and the strength that they've exhibited throughout time in the betterment and the fighting for rights and the betterment and fight of our young people and for our community. So I just wanted to stand in support of our women. And as fact, as Maria stated earlier, we have some amazing women, and we have some amazing women in this council, and we have some amazing women representing us across the board. So thank you for the work that you all do and continue to help uplift all of our women in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Irvin. I could say more, but I will not. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Lee.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise in support of this resolution. I sat here thinking about what to say and was a little silent at the beginning, listening to all of the men honoring the women, which is great. I'm struck by the fact that I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of being in this body, and I want to thank you, Madam President, for giving me that opportunity and the history that you've made here, and the history that you've allowed me to be a part of. Being a part of this body with all of the amazing and incredibly strong women on this council has been an honor, and I look forward to doing it more. And to the women in the box, thank you for all that you do to inspire women and girls to dream and reach and know that they are enough for anything that they want to do. I know that we all stand on many shoulders. Alderman Irvin was talking about his mother. I have thoughts of my own and the grandmothers and great-grandmothers that all came before us and sacrificed so that we might accomplish the things that we have today. And I'm looking forward to continuing in that tradition, to continue to pave the way for more young ladies and women and girls to achieve everything that they want to, no matter what that is. Thank you.
Alderman Lee. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Coleman.
Madam President, of course, I stand in support of the ladies who run the world, girls, the city, the state, and anything else. But especially thank you for your leadership with your prospective organizations. I just have to especially thank Mrs. Felicia Davis Blakely for your commitment to the South and West Side, but especially for helping the women's organization under the umbrella of Teamwork Inglewood and the investment that you have made since being at your organization that directly affects and helps the 16th Ward, the 20th Ward, 15, 17, and 6. So thank you, and I hope that we can continue on increasing that support through your advocacy. So there's a song that Deacon Alderman Moore's pastor just released called Soul of a Woman. I just want to parasite just a couple of lines by Charles Jenkins. It's the soul of a woman. She stands strong, someone you can lean on to help carry on, help you hold on in good times and in bad. A woman is born with a nurturing hand, always thinking of a master plan to build someone else up. There's no mountain she can't climb. She's ascending as we speak. It's just a matter of time. There's no problem she can't solve. She's got her strength, a level head, and her self-respect. Most of all, it is the soul of a woman. And this was just released on March 1st by Reverend Charles Jenkins. So thank you, women. Thank you to the women of this council whose shoulders that us young bucks we stand on. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Coleman. The chair recognizes Alderman Lopez.
Thank you again, Madam President, and again, good morning, members of the City Council. I too rise in support of this resolution and welcome these fine examples of what women can do to this chamber. I wish to also take this moment, following all the accolades and rightfully given recognition to women given by so many of the members here today, take a moment to give a special shout out to all of those moms, sisters, wives, and young ladies in our neighborhoods who are unrecognized but we could not live without. Those that are struggling to keep their families together, those that are working 2 jobs to put food on the table, to raise their children right, who we often forget in the headlines, but know they permeate every one of our wards and neighborhoods. This month belongs to them as well, and I would be remiss if I didn't call special attention to them as well, and hope that they find inspiration, not only by the examples we have here today as guests, not only by those that serve in this body or lead this body, but that they find inspiration and solace amongst each other as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez. The chair recognizes Alderman Osterman.
Madam Mayor, distinguished guests, just want to commend you on the work you do and the leadership role you have for women in the organizations you work with, the partnerships you have, the example that you set for young women that want to get into nonprofits, into government. You're shining examples. It's been a privilege to me to work with the amazing women of the City Council. A lot of the good legislation that has come in my time here has been driven by the women on this council. So, and Madam Mayor, I want to commend you on your leadership over the last 4 years that have not been easy for you, for us, for the city, and appreciate the work that you did on behalf of people throughout the city. I'd be remiss if I didn't think about the trajectory of my community in Edgewater. The foundation of the success that we've seen started back with Marion Vellini, my mother Kathy, Mary Ann Smith, all preceded me and did an amazing job, along with the women leaders of nonprofits and block clubs, to make my community what it is today, which is a safe community, diverse community, inclusive community. So glad to stand to be recognized and support this resolution and the work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Osterman. Any other members of the body that wish to speak to this resolution? So, ladies, you know where I am. We've spent a lot of time together over the last 7 days, whether it was abortion provider recognition and appreciation, whether it was Equal Pay Day, whether it was our work to make sure that as a city government, we are being incredibly transparent about gender equity, or this moment for Women's History Month. I know each of you well and value and appreciate your leadership in the city. And I will just say, given what we see, not just here in Chicago, not just in Illinois, but across the country, really the assault on women's rights that was the capstone of which was the striking down of Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision. We all know, because we all rolled up our sleeves at the same time, to say we will be a city that stands for justice for all. We will make sure that we continue to support not only women and girls, but those who are in need, seeking comfort, seeking services here in our city. I am a great admirer of each and every one of you. I know I don't have to say this, but I will. Never be silent. Never stand on the sideline. Only be loud, boisterous advocates for what is right and what is true. And make sure that you continue to hold every single elected official up and down the line accountable, to make sure that women and the lived experience of women and girls are always, always first and foremost reflected in the policy work that is done. Not easy, but absolutely essential and necessary now more than ever. So it's with great pride and admiration that I welcome you here, that I thank you for the work, and as you know, I will be a fearless champion for you on the other side. Thank you very much. All right, that's resolutions. Oh, yes, right. Ms. Mitchell in here. Continue on. Let's continue on, folks. Alderman Mitchell.
Madam President, I move passage of these resolutions in the omnibus.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Alderman Mitchell.
I now move that we return to the regular order of business.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, is communications. Peter.
A series of communications from our Honor the Mayor to the Honorable the City Council of the City of Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmit herewith an ordinance authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District to provide TIF funds for improvements to Winnemac Park. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmit herewith an ordinance authorizing a second amendment to the Madison-Austin Corridor TIF redevelopment project and plan. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmit herewith an ordinance authorizing the execution of a TIF redevelopment agreement with BR Congress Owners LLC and Congress Theater NFP for rehabilitation of the Congress Theater. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Two committees having been called, the Committee on Finance and the Committee on Workforce Development. The matter is referred to the Committee on Committees and Rules. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the execution of a TIF redevelopment agreement with Caledon Construction Corporation NFP and its affiliates for the rehabilitation of the former Goldblatt store. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the execution of a TIF redevelopment agreement with Cirque Esteem Incorporated for the development of permanent headquarters of Cirque Esteem. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the execution of a TIF redevelopment agreement with Lillian Marcy Legacy Company for the rehabilitation of a warehouse into a theater space. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the execution of a TIF redevelopment agreement with Park Row Development LLC for the redevelopment of Pioneer Bank. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the execution of a TIF redevelopment agreement with Westside Health Authority, a not-for-profit organization, for the development of Aspire Center, which is your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Housing, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the issuance of financial assistance for the Humboldt Park Passive Living Development. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Housing, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the restructuring of the city's loan agreement with Parkside Terraces LP. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Budget Director, I transmitted with a Fund 925 amendment. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Housing Commissioner, I transmitted with an ordinance amending the municipal code regarding the 2015 Affordable Requirements Ordinance. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor, referred to the Committee on Housing and Real Estate. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmitted with ordinances authorizing the negotiated sale of city-owned properties. Your favorable consideration of these ordinances will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Housing and Real Estate. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the execution of an amended land sale agreement with Rush University Medical Center. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Housing and Real Estate. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Planning and Development, I transmitted with ordinances authorizing the acquisition of properties for development purposes. Your favorable consideration of these ordinances will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Housing and Real Estate. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Assets, Information, and Services, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with Joyner Real Estate, LLC. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Housing and Real Estate. Ladies and gentlemen, I have appointed Juliana Gonzalez Cruci as a Commissioner of the Chicago Housing Authority for a term effective immediately and expiring July 7, 2027, to succeed Bill Thanikos, whose term has expired. Your favorable consideration of this appointment will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Housing and Real Estate. Two committees have been called, the Committee on Housing and Real Estate and the Committee on Committees and Rules. The matter is referred to the Committee on Committees and Rules. Ladies and gentlemen, I transmitted herewith appointments to various special service areas. Your favorable consideration of these appointments will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Economic, Capital, and Technology Development. Ladies and gentlemen, I have reappointed the following members of the Advisory Council on Cultural Affairs and Special Events for a term effective immediately and expiring October 5th, 2024. Blake Anthony Johnson, Allison E. Cuddy, Amina J. Dickerson, Brooke Flanagan, Josephine Lee, Karasuko J. Moreno, Margaret C. Murphy-Webb, Claire C. Rice, Sylvia Rivera, Paul Sinawas, Tanner Woodford, and Omar Torres Corright. Your favorable consideration of these appointments will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Special Events, Cultural Affairs, and Recreation. Two committees have been called, the Committee on Special Events, Cultural Affairs, and Recreation, and the Committee on Rules. The matter is referred to the Committee on Committees and Rules. Ladies and gentlemen, I transmitted with the appointments to the Chicago Transit Board. Your favorable consideration of these appointments will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Two committees have been called, the Committee on Transportation and Public Way and the Committee on Committees and Rules. The matter is referred to the Committee on Committees and Rules. Ladies and gentlemen, I have reappointed the following members of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks for a term effective immediately and expiring March 11, 2027. Sue Ellen Burns, Jonathan E. Fair, Tierra L. Hughes, Gabriel Ignacio Dezikowicz, Alicia Ponce, Adam G. Rubin, Richard L. Tulliver, and Ernest C. Wong. Your favorable consideration of these appointments will be appreciated. Very truly yours, signed, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Two committees have been called, the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards, and the Committee on Committees and Rules. The matter is referred to the Committee on Committees and Rules. City Clerk Valencia hereby informs the City Council that the following documents were filed in her office relating to the respective subjects designated as follows. The Executive Order number 2023-1 regarding biannual pay equity audit. The notification of sale of City of Chicago sales tax securitization bonds, Series 2023A and 2023B, and refunding Series 2023A, 2023B, and 2023C. The Inspector General's follow-up report concerning Department of Streets and Sanitation commercial and high-density residential building recycling enforcement. The Office of Inspector General's report regarding implementation and recommendations of Procurement Reform Task Force. Also, the Office of Inspector General's second follow-up of October 2020 audit report concerning Department of Human Services management of city employee evaluation process. And RCN Telecom Services of Illinois, LLC, notice of modification of cable service agreement area and application of state-issued authorization to provide cable service. And the resignation of Carrie M. Austin as Alderman of the 34th Ward. City Clerk Valencia also informs the City Council that all those matters which were reconsidered by the City Council at its regular meeting held on February 1st, 2022, and which were required by statute to be published in book or pamphlet form or in one or more newspapers, were published in pamphlet form on March 15th, 2023, by being printed in full text in the printed pamphlet copies of the Journal of Proceedings of the City of Chicago. City Clerk Valencia also transmits the following miscellaneous communications requiring City Council action: zoning reclassifications of particular areas which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards; claims against the City of Chicago which are referred to the Committee on Finance. Also, a recommendation by the Commission on Chicago Landmarks for designation of the Greater Union Baptist Church at 1956 West Warren Boulevard as a Chicago landmark, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. And recommendation by the Commission on Chicago Landmarks for designation of the Promontory Point located east of South John Baptiste Point du Sable Lakeshore Drive between East 54th and East 56th Streets as a Chicago landmark, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. And correction of the December 14th, 2022 City Council Journal of Proceedings, which is referred to the Committee on Committees and Rules. Your Honor, that concludes the reports and communications from the Mayor and other city officers.
Thank you, sir. Next up, the committee reports, starting with Finance Committee, Chairman Wegesbeck.
Resolution.
Chairman Wegesbeck.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, reporting for the City Council's Committee on Finance, which met virtually on March 13, 2023, Item 1 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute a loan assistance agreement, including tax increment financing funds, in the amount of $10 million for the 43rd and Prairie Phase 2 LP for acquisition of city-owned property and redevelopment of affordable housing and commercial space at 4309 to 4311 South Prairie Avenue, located in the 3rd Ward. Unless there's someone wishing to speak on this item, I move to concur with the committee's favorable recommendation by a roll call vote.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay. Please hit refresh. Voting starts. It's open. Okay. She's coming. Alderman Beal. Okay, I will now call aldermen who have not yet voted, and you can give me a voice vote if you would like. Alderman LaSpada? Aye. Aye. Please mark Alderman LaSpada as aye. Alderman Beal? He's got it? Okay. Alderman Abarca? Okay. Alderman Burke? Are you, I can take a voice vote from you, Alderman? Yes, Alderman Burke is a yes. Alderman Curtis? Alderman Curtis is aye. Alderman Rodriguez? Alderman Rodriguez is aye. Alderman Vasquez? Alderman Vasquez is aye. Alderman Riley? Alderman Riley is an aye. Alderman Tunney? Alderman Tunney is an aye. So get Riley in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge, since the developer is in the room, Phil Beckham, one of the members of the P3 Markets and Habitat Group, which is doing this important development at 43rd and Calumet and Prairie. Thank you so much, Phil.
The yeas are 48. There are 0 nays. Alderman Kappelman on the motion for reconsideration.
Madam President, I move to reconsider the vote.
All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration signify by saying aye. All those opposed say nay.
No.
The nays have it. The motion for reconsideration fails. Chairman Wagasback, back to you.
Thank you. Madam President, item number 2 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds and other financial assistance to Mercy Housing Lakefront for acquisition of property and development of low-income housing at 1801 South Wabash Avenue, located in the 3rd Ward. Unless someone wishes to speak on the item, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 3 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute a redevelopment agreement with an issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds or notes for preservation of affordable housing incorporated, Levy House Preservation Associates LP, POA Levy House GP, for rehabilitation of low-income senior housing at 1221 West Sherwin Avenue, located in the 49th Ward. Unless someone wishes to speak on the item, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report, corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 4 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute a correction of 62nd amending agreement with Summer Corps Incorporated for provision of additional grant funds for the 119th Halsted redevelopment project area. Unless someone wishes to speak on this item, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 5 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute a redevelopment agreement and allocation of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $1,562,786 to the German American National Congress Chapter Chicago North and Donk House DBA, doing business as Donk House German American Cultural Center, for completion of certain improvements to the building at 4740 Northwestern Avenue, located in the 40th Ward. Unless someone wishes to speak on this item, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 6 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute a redevelopment agreement with and provision of neighborhood opportunity funds in the amount of $1,892,928 to One and Only LLC for development of a restaurant, catering, and shared event space at 5924 West Chicago Avenue and 5926 West Chicago Avenue, located in the 29th Ward. Unless someone wishes to speak on this item, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 7 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District for allocation of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $1,400,000 for renovation of Clarendon Park Fieldhouse at 4532 to 4534 and 4538 North Clarendon Avenue, located in the 46th Ward. Unless someone wishes to speak on the item, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 8 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District for allocation of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $7,100,000 for landscaping and facility improvements at Cragen Park at 2611 North Lockwood Avenue, located in the 31st Ward. Unless someone wishes to speak on the item, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 9 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District for allocation of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $600,000 for expansion of park boundaries and improvements at George Kells Park at 3201 West Chicago Avenue, located in the 27th Ward. Unless someone wishes to speak, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 10 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute the First Amendment of the Intergovernmental Agreement with the Chicago Park District ordinance to increase the maximum available tax increment financing funds in the amount of $3.5 million for renovation of Reese Park Fieldhouse at 6100 West Fullerton, located in the 30th Ward. Unless someone wishes to speak, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 11 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to enter into and execute fee exemptions, no fee permits, and associated fee waivers for all applications filed by the Chicago Building Commission or its contractors for associated buildings, facilities, and projects used for public or governmental purposes, with quarterly reporting of all these waivers to the Office of Budget and Management. Unless someone wishes to speak on this item, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
And item 12 is the report of cases in which judgments or settlements were entered into for the months of January and February of 2023. These will be placed on file with the clerk. Items 13 and 14 consist of authorizations for the payment of various small claims against the city and denial of payment of various small claims against the city. If there's no objection, I ask that these items be placed in the omnibus.
No objection, so ordered.
Item 15 is an order authorizing 2 charitable solicitation public way tag day permits for the Nature Conservancy citywide from April 1st through November 30th, 2023, and the American Civil Liberties Union citywide April 1st through December 31st, 2023. If there's no objection, I ask these be placed on the omnibus.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
And Madam President, that concludes the report of the Committee on Finance.
Next up, the Committee on Budget and Government Operations. Chairman Dow.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the City Council. Reporting for your Committee on the Budget and Government Operations, which held a committee meeting and a subcommittee meeting on the Chicago Recovery Plan on March 8th, 2023. The committee recommends passage of the following: an ordinance concerning an amendment to the annual appropriation ordinance year 2023 within Fund Number 925 for the Department of Family and Support Services. I move passage of this item by the most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider, with the exception of Alderman Hairston, Alderman Quinn, Alderman Napolitano, Alderman Riley, and Alderman Tabarez have asked to be recorded as no votes.
There's a request for a roll call. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Roll call.
I'm sorry, Alderman Taylor, I did not hear you. You want to?
I would like to speak to this item.
Did you not just call for a roll call?
Can I speak to it first?
So you don't want a roll call, you just want to speak to it?
No, I do want a roll call vote on it, but I want to speak to it first.
The chair recognizes Alderwoman Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so this seems to be around the migrant camp at Wadsworth, or any of the migrant camps. I want us to have a conversation about this. I've said it time and time again, I wanted us to have a conversation about where these camps were in the community and how that we could help you. And it just seems like we picked places and we decided, or we didn't get the decision, and the administration dropped the ball with telling folks where these camps would be. And so now that they're closing, we're getting more people in the community. So the one in Maria Hatton's community closed, and those migrants were sent to, of course, Wadsworth, which is a closed school. And so, all due respect, there should have been a conversation with us. As a matter of fact, this was a conversation that I asked for back in October, and I'm confused at how we're here again, trying to pass something without still having a conversation. And so I'm asking my coworkers not to vote for this, because we should be having a conversation. It's not too late. It seems like there are migrants at the airports. There are folks just coming in on their own. And so when do we have the conversation about where it's safe, where people should actually be, where they can get the support that they need in the community? I made it clear to this administration in October. I had a part of the ward that I felt like could accommodate folks because they're Latinx speaking folks, and part of my ward is Latinx, but I wasn't listened to. No, act like nobody heard me, and it went on deaf ears. And so we're here where we're asking for what, $20 million?
No, point of clarification, Alderwoman Taylor. This is to accept the $20 million allocation that was given to the city by the state. It's a totally separate issue from the issues that you're raising.
I still would want us to have a conversation with before we make any more decisions. Because we should have been consulted on the front end, and we're still not doing this. And it's funny how I asked for it not to be in my community, and whoever just made the decision for the Kmart, that just seemed it didn't happen. And so we're picking and choosing where we're putting them. And some people are not even having conversation, they're just popping up. And so while it may not be on you, hold on, Madam Chair, your team has dropped the ball. Period. And I've heard that from other aldermen. I've heard it time and time over again. And so this is problematic. And it's like we're half doing things. It's like, what is the purpose of having a city council? What is the purpose of us being here? Not to be talked to, not to be used. And with all due respect, y'all disrespected this council back in October. These were questions we were asking when DFSS was sitting here, and she said nothing. Nobody came to me and said, Alderwoman Taylor, we're going to change a closed school that already hurt the community, that already put us back, and turn it into a migrant camp. And let's not make this about us against the migrants, because it's not. We're a sanctuary city, but we should have sanctuary for everybody. And the thought that regular homeless people can't walk up to this shelter and get in is problematic as well. There's a homeless woman that stays on 57th Street in my ward and King Drive at the bus shelter. There's somebody that lives on the Midway. We're not helping those folks, but we're helping everybody else. There is enough money for everybody to be taken care of. And DFSS and this administration needs to come to the table and have that conversation with us. And it just ain't happening.
Well, with due respect, most of what you said is not correct. But this is not the time or place to have that. Almost everything that you said is not correct, particularly when you indicated that you did not want Hispanic migrants in the black section of your ward. We did look at the place that you recommended. It was full of asbestos and wasn't appropriate to house anybody. But this is not the time or the place. There was
communicated that to me?
There was that I know was communicated to you
No.
by me and by members of our team, but
No.
this is not the time or place for this discussion. My understanding is there was a full discussion and debate in the Budget Committee on this. People, you are obviously, as a member of City Council, entitled to weigh in on any issue. The narrow issue here
I'm
is,
weighing in now.
The narrow issue is, do we accept the $20 million that the state has provided for us or not? That's the issue on the table. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Harrison.
Thank you. I too am voting no, but I think it's important for everybody to understand why. And why I do not think that we should be accepting this money, because once you get this money, your administration does exactly what they want to do. I discovered a few weeks ago driving down Lakeshore Drive, because I saw people milling about. And they were milling about at the old Ramada Inn, which is now Best Western and La Quinta. And so I sent my ward superintendent to find out what was going on, because my residents that live over there, formerly in the 4th Ward, 4800, were calling, wanted to know what was going on in the Ramada. They were hoping that the center, where there's a restaurant and conference rooms and a bar that the neighbors had used for so long, which closed during COVID and had boarded up windows, was finally going to get some work done to it. But instead, no. And so the city, the money is going to somebody that has a unsightly blight that is creating a deleterious effect on the community that they're looking at each and every day, and yet we as a city are paying them to do that. My ward superintendent went over there, saw the OEMC truck, and asked, are these migrants? The answer was yes. They're here every day. They've been here since last year. No one has talked to me. This is your staff. Ask them, ask Rachel. Ask Rachel. And so when we're talking about this, so we're looking at the locations. I've got 2 in Hyde Park, right? And let's see. This administration had conferences with the Latino caucus in December of 22, in October 22, September 22, and nobody had any conversations with anybody else, with nobody else. And so when my constituents are calling wanting to know what's going on, I can't tell them. And that budget, when I asked them to provide me a list of the people who made the decisions, they said the department. The department doesn't talk. There are people whose parents have given them names. And I want to know who's making making these decisions, not talking to anybody, and then they say, oh, we're sorry. You're not sorry, because you've been doing it for more than 6 months. And so that's why I oppose this.
Does we wish to speak to this? I'm sorry. The chair recognizes Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. And now, good afternoon, members of the City Council. This is not about those seeking asylum here. This conversation today, so we are all clear, is exactly about what the ordinance itself says. It's not whether or not we're going to accept money. We've already gotten it. The second recital says that the city, through its Department of Family and Support Services, has been awarded, that is past tense, meaning we got the $20 million now, to pay for emergency food and shelter program, which is what we're using to cover the expenses of dealing with other states' problems. Now, I believe all of us want to help where we can. We all know that we have to help those in our city and those that have come to our city. But the question that's been raised time and time again, not just today, not just at budget, is how do you do that with all of us at the table? And to be quite honest, that conversation has never happened, whether at the administration level or even in this body in the Budget Committee. Because I can tell you, when I look back, when we as a body approved your Commissioner for Department of Assets, Information and Services, Sandra Blakemore, in November of 2022, I specifically asked during that appointment, how is your department handling the migrant situation coming here? I said, who is funding this? How are we making sure that they are treated humanely? How are we ensuring their human dignity? And I was told by the budget chairman then, this is not the time. This is not the place. That's somebody else handling it. We became the meme where everyone started pointing to everybody else, trying to figure out who's responsible. Fifth floor said it's that one. This office said it's that one. Somebody else said it's that one. All the while, these poor individuals who become political pawns both in Texas and Chicago have been bounced around. Local leaders have been lied to. My colleague from the 20th Ward has been lied to, I think, at least 3 times that I can remember. I know other members have been lied to. Other bodies have been promised thousands of dollars a day by this administration to house these individuals until we figure out how to pay for them. And our communities have been completely disrespected because you have put an investment for individuals over the investment that should have been matched for those that they were going to as well, in communities that did not have the infrastructure to assist these individuals coming here. We set ourselves up for failure, and we continue to set ourselves up for failure as a city, but more importantly, those seeking asylum in these United States have been set up for failure by the city of Chicago because we refuse to have these conversations, because we've ducked, dodged, and avoided every kind of substantive discussion on this matter simply to make cheap political headlines. We can keep doing this as everyone's heading to the exit, or we could say enough. We should have said enough months ago. We should have had committees, which we have, to address immigrant and refugee rights, come together and speak on this. What the hell is the point of a committee that does no work? Where's the committee that addresses how we invest in our neighborhoods to ensure that we're making progress where we have forgotten about individuals? But yet here we are today, scrambling to try and backfill the hole that's been dug for this very purpose. I join my colleagues' frustration. I join it because procedurally, we have avoided any kind of legitimate conversation on what to do when Governor Abbott and others sent these individuals from the border here. We've avoided any kind of meaningful discussion with our department leaders responsible for ensuring the safety and dignity of these individuals, even as we know there have been issues of violence, domestic abuse, and even sexual assault. We have ignored all of that. But now we have to jump through hoops for this $20 million. I'm still on the floor. So I believe that, Madam President, this should not be moving forward. And I also think that if my colleague would like to join me, then I would make a motion to defer and publish this item.
There's already a motion on the table. There's a roll call that's been called.
She's rescinded.
It's not timely. The chair recognizes Alderman.
There's a motion to defer and publish.
The chair recognizes Alderman.
Debate has ended.
The chair recognizes Alderman Rodriguez.
Look, this is tough because I agree with a lot of my colleagues and I'm on their side a lot. And I get it. I understand the issues here. In committee, I think I also voiced some of my issues with the lack of communication, engagements with local alderpersons. There was a significant debate and engagement at the Budget Committee. We had the conversation. The fact is that we need these $20 million. The nonprofits have spoken very clearly that this money needs to come in, and we need to bring it in to support migrants who are coming to the city. Asylum seekers coming to the city. I think we need to act on this today. Let's bring it in. We got to correct some things, though. The fact is that at the state of Illinois, we've created some hurdles there. Let's not create more hurdles today. Let's move this forward. And we are going to bring in a new administration. Regardless of the administration, we've got to figure out our issues and the hurdles we put forward there in the state and elsewhere in the federal government to make sure that we're able to continue to serve some of our most vulnerable residents. And the fact is, we cannot turn a blind eye to anyone in need. So we shouldn't, but we shouldn't. And in this instance, we shouldn't as well.
Recognizes Alderman Laspada.
I will be so brief, Chair, because I agree and I'm ready to vote yes on this motion. And I was there for committee as I was waiting for another committee, and I appreciate the conversation. Everything that we are doing, we can do better and more clearly, and there are spaces for that. As Alderman Rodriguez pointed out, the feedback, the critical points are well met. But if we are a welcoming city, we're a welcoming city, and we need to reckon with what that actually means for us. Everyone who is in this city, immaterial of how they got here, is a Chicagoan. And every Chicagoan deserves the resources that they need to thrive. And so I hear the feedback. I know people want clearer communication. They want spaces that are well met and well resourced and well maintained in their wards. But let us be our best selves in the spirit of welcoming and hospitality. I genuinely hope that that's who we are as a city. Thank you.
This is Alderwoman Dow.
That we're not jumping through hoops. The reality is that this money is being used to feed people who need food. This money is being used for food and shelter. We have issues that need to be corrected, but we can do that. But we should not take food out of the mouths of people who need it. And so, Madam Chair, if we're going to have a roll call vote, let's get it on.
Last one. The chair recognizes Alderman Maldonado.
Thank you, Madam President. Look, we have a lot of issues in our city. And to throw in the challenge that we're facing with our homeless community, with the acceptance of this $20 million from the state for our migrant community, is not the right approach to have a productive debate. We will not solve the problem of the homeless community with these $20 million, because these $20 million are earmarked to help our migrant community. And to stop this now, because we have other issues that some of us have heard in our respective wards, is not fair and is not humane. I hope that we all do the right thing, vote to accept this $20 million, and I don't think it's late to talk and debate how those $20 million will be used to help the migrant community that we already have in our city. We still have time to do that. This is just the first step so that we can get to the end line. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Alderman Sixto Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that it is critical to recognize the issues that we have had when it comes to serving the refugees as well as current residents across the city of Chicago who are in dire need of social services, shelter, and food. In the last budget, I think that there's a recognition among many of us that the process and the way for us to allocate funding to make sure that local alderpersons are included has been deficient, to say the least. There has to be a recognition of that. I understand and I hear my good friend Alderwoman Taylor on her concerns and the demands that she's hearing from her community. Absolutely. That is real and needs to be recognized. At the same time, as Chair Dowell mentioned, the funding is critical to make sure that we address food insecurity. So in the last hearing, I think that we made a commitment that we can follow up with whatever procedurally we need to do to ensure that the Immigrants and Rights Committee, along with local alderpersons who are currently dealing with this issue on their communities, must be included. And this needs to be a process where we collaborate and coordinate efforts so that people don't feel excluded and that we don't create tensions between communities who already are dealing with enough. So I would like to ask that we make this commitment. I know Alderwoman and Chairwoman Dowell, as well as Chairman Ray Boras from the Immigrant Rights Committee, are committed to work with us to ensure that there's full transparency, and hopefully we can work with the local alderpersons, Alderwoman Haddon, Alderwoman Taylor, in whatever we need to do to ensure that the resources really go where they're supposed to go. And that honestly, moving forward, we have a better process that doesn't pitch us against each other in a time where we need to foster collaboration, respect, and consideration for one another. And I hear again, once again, Alderwoman Taylor's concerns, and that must be done in order for us to reassure that we can have full transparency, inclusion, but also coordination, so that on the ground we prevent issues that we all have witnessed, that are very real and it must be addressed. So I hope that this can be a way for us to recognize the issues on the ground, but move forward with the dire need for the funding that is needed across the city of Chicago. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Sixto Lopez. The chair recognizes Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Madam President. During budget hearing, as this was discussed and debated, one of the things, this is for the more residents and community that's listening, because people tend to think, as I thought, where's this money coming from? I need a field house. I need this in my community. And we understand sometimes when we say that, and then there's this thing of, okay, I could be using this money for things that I need in my community. But one of the things that I ask and I drill down is, what was the source of this funding? And at the state level, they have an Illinois Disaster Relief Grant. So I can't tap Illinois Disaster Relief for my park. I wish I could, but you can't. That's just the way it's set up. And so we have a disaster relief here, and it says disaster relief grants for flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, acts of war, and other disaster relief. Well, this is a disaster that we faced here, and it's a federal disaster. And so we have money in Department of Human Services, and I don't want that money to be tapped into as is we need it for the different things we need in our communities. And as a steward, a fiscal steward, I never want to send any money back, and especially money that's coming from a fund like disaster relief that's specifically for disaster relief. And so let's not send that money back, but yet accept it again, make sure we do what Alderman Taylor and others stated, communicate on how this money is spent and where it is going. But we're not talking about sending some money back that we don't have, because some money is going to have to be used if this money is not used, and that's what's going to impact our community. So thank you.
The chair recognizes Alderwoman Taylor. You may withdraw your motion for a...
I plan to rescind and DMP.
I'm sorry?
I plan to rescind the roll call vote and DMP this.
Well, a roll call had already been called. After the roll call was called, there was a request by Alderwoman Taylor, I think joined by Alderman Lopez,
to
DMP this matter. That will require a vote of the council to rescind the roll call vote. So the first vote that we will take is your request to rescind
the roll call vote. Absolutely.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call. So just so we're clear on what everyone's voting on. Alderwoman Taylor made a request for a roll call vote. Please, Alderman Lopez, don't interrupt me. Let me explain to the body. Well, I'm sure you'll correct. Stop, sir. That's not true. Pursuant to Rule 16 requires that once a motion is made and is to be rescinded, that it must be rescinded with a vote. So you are wrong, sir. So what we are doing, ladies and gentlemen, is Alderwoman Taylor initially made a request for a roll call vote. She subsequently wants to rescind that request for a roll call vote. Pursuant to Rule 16, a vote must be had to rescind her request for a roll call vote and then move to, presumably in DMP with Alderman Lopez. So what you are voting for is the request to rescind the roll call vote that was originally called for to move this matter forward. We clear? The chair recognizes Alderman Maldonado.
Yeah, I welcome that you will explain what a no vote means on this motion and what a yes vote will mean on this motion.
A yes vote means that you will be rescinding the request for a roll call vote. A no vote means you will be denying the request to rescind the roll call vote and move to a DNP.
Okay. I knew that, but I didn't. Because it could become.
Put another way, a yes vote means that the roll call vote will be rescinded and then the item is eligible today for a DNP. A no vote means that the original roll call request will move forward and that the item will not be eligible for a DNP. Hopefully that clarifies. The chair recognizes Alderman Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam President. For point of clarification, I don't recall us in this term at all ever having to vote on somebody rescinding a motion. Is there precedent for that?
It's Rule 16, sir.
So we just ignore it every other time?
Oh.
Got it, just checking. Just want to make sure we ignored it every other time.
I can't recall it happening, sir. So the vote is to rescind the request for a roll call vote. Please open up.
Okay, the voting is now open. Please hit refresh and mark your vote.
Say it again.
LaWanda, Alderman Dowell.
Alderman Hairston.
It is open. He's coming right now. He's coming right now. Okay, I will now take a voice vote from those who have not voted, who are in the chambers. Alderman Harris? Alderman Harris? Okay, she's casting her vote now. Alderman Beal is not in chambers. Alderman Riley? Alderman Riley? Alderman Riley, please mark Alderman Riley as a yay. Hi, Alderman Beal is not in chambers. Voting is now closed.
The yeas are 21, the nays are 25, so the motion to rescind pursuant to Rule 16 fails. All right. Now, I'm sorry? The chair recognizes Alderman Brookins.
I believe it's a tie. I believe it's a tie. When the Walmart vote went down, it was 25, and it was a tie. It has to be 26 votes.
No.
Not.
Yeah. I don't believe that that's correct. It's 26 to actually be able to pass an ordinance, but the motion fails.
All right.
Now, we had a prior request for a roll call. Please conduct a roll call on the chair recognizes Alderman Irvin and then Alderman Villegas.
Thank you, Madam President. There's clear here that we have some challenges in this space regarding migrants, homeless folks. I think that the communication is one thing, but when we look out in our respective communities, and some folks will tell us, it seems like, and this is what we hear in our community, in the black community, that we're doing more for people that are not from here than the folks that are here. And I think this is the frustration that you are hearing from a lot of individuals. Now, granted, there is definitely a communication challenge as has been relating to this. I know that Alderman Taylor has had challenges in her community relating to this. I know that folks have tried to work back and forth on this particular matter, but I think what we're hearing today is the overall frustration about what are we doing to help folks that are here. That is what I think the challenge is, and I understand that everybody has their various views, but we as a council, two things that we are charged with. One is appropriation, two is investigation. And unfortunately, these are the only two checks that exist for us as a council. Now, I understand that we don't want to, as Chairman Dowell stated, this is for basic necessities for individuals. I do, however, think that we've got to figure a way out that we can satisfy more than just what I consider to be a narrow group. Yes, we are a welcoming city. I understand that. But we also have to think about those that are here. We also have to think about those that are also refugees or immigrants that have a darker hue. Because a lot of times those individuals are not considered in the same way that individuals that are coming from Mexico or other areas of a lighter persuasion. I'm not trying to make this an issue of race. Unfortunately, though, it is. There is even from our federal government to the state government and now at our local level, there apparently is a difference in how individuals are treated. And so, unfortunately, it has come to this today. But again, at some point in time, we must figure out how we're going to take care of everyone. And we have to think through that particular lens. I understand the idea of returning money. I get that. It's probably not the most prudent thing to do. However, without any other check that exists other than our ability to appropriate and our ability to investigate, we have no other options. So while I get it and I understand where things stand, there has to be something else that we're able to do. Now, I understand that a roll call vote was asked for on this item. I really don't want to vote against accepting money to help anyone. But again, what are our options? And the only option that we have is either to accept the money or to not accept the money. We have options to work through our structure to do something or not work through the structure to do something. I think that people have continued to talk about this, but we have not gotten to a point where we can have overall agreement or force a greater conversation. And if the power of the purse, which is what we have, is the only power that we really have to deal with these situations, then we have to exercise our power of the purse. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Alderman Villegas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're in this situation because of the fact that we have a governor or two that have been playing politics with people. And as a welcoming city, has wanted to make a statement as they seek higher office in the United States that they want to stick it to the blue states. And so, we have supported a lot of initiatives that have not benefited every city, every community in the city. We supported Invest Southwest, which identified 10 communities, none or one that's one Latino. Come on, let's not do this. We need to help everybody out. We're talking about $20 million that are going to help migrants, folks that are coming here because of the fact of the situation that they're in. And it's not our fault. Now, I'll say that, and I respect Alderwoman Taylor, because the lack of communication has been something that has been going on for quite some time. And we need to fix that. But let's not take a look at making a stand here on this issue where we're talking about $20 million that's coming from the state to help people that by no choice have left and flee the country under tyranny. We're better than that. This is a welcoming city. We've got to do better. I just co-signed onto Chairman Burnett's returning citizens ordinance because, again, we got to take a look at helping people. And we're talking about, I'm hearing about the homeless, that we need to help the homeless, yet when there was a meeting called about Bring Home Chicago, 25 people didn't show up. We missed one in order to address that issue. So let's not talk about and pick and choose what we're going to do here. If we're going to help people, then let's help people. We had an ordinance. There was a call for an ordinance to Bring Home Chicago, and 25 people mysteriously didn't come. So let's not be hypocritical on this. I've said publicly that I'm here to help every community. And I've done so by voting on budgets that help every community. So please, moving forward, let's not pit the communities against each other because we're all starving for resources. And the fact that $20 million, when in fact we were looking for 50 from the state to help not-for-profits deal with an issue that we didn't pick this issue. Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis have put migrants on a bus, have used them as pawns, again, for higher office. So ladies and gentlemen, I see that there's a motion to DMP. I guess we'll be adding that to the special meeting then, and I hope that the administration will have, it got denied. Okay, cool. Well, let's get the thing voting because we got to help people out. We got to help people out. And if you vote no, you vote no. But let's get this thing going. We got to help not-for-profits. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam President. I know we're in the heat of the moment, and sometimes we don't think through some of the things we discuss, and I say that with all the love and respect out here. There's a lot of framing in here that is binary that should not. When we talk about the people that are here, the refugees are here. They're not theory. They are here. When we talk about returning citizens, they are Black and Latino. It's not one or the other. When we talk about Invest Southwest, it's Black and Latino. It's not one or the other. Every single time things come up, we have a scarcity mindset that divides us, and it's why we lose every single time. We got council members here who also similarly did not want to house migrants in their wards. They did not have it imposed on them. They were able to say no, and it got stopped. Now, I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to say what color or what color they weren't, right? But to have one of our colleagues put in that position because we don't have an independent, accountable way to have these conversations, that is a very real problem for every member in this council. But that is separate from getting the resources necessary to provide for those who need the help. To Chairman Villegas' point, we have people out here advocating for Bring Chicago Home, knowing that we need way more money than we have in order to take care of our homelessness problem. $20 million to help the refugees is $20 million that isn't taken out of another pot to make sure that we take care of our homeless folks, and we don't have enough money to begin with. And I think we need to recognize that. I am really tired, and I love my colleagues here, but I'm really tired of every time this comes up, all these like subliminal, low-key conversations about Black versus brown, because people of color don't end up winning in the city of Chicago every time we divide ourselves. Now, we can have a conversation, and we should have a conversation about what a legislative body needs to do to have a process that's accountable, but we need to make sure the executive branch doesn't lord over a city and make decisions without having the accountability in place. We will have those conversations, and we should. But whenever money comes up and people feel like they're being shorted, understand we are all shorted. We have 3 constituencies that I believe should be the priority for us: Black, brown, and broke, right? And everything we do to divide ourselves takes money off the table. It causes us to fight for scraps. It causes us to have to make decisions we don't want to when it comes to budgets. So I would implore our colleagues that I understand the emotions associated with it. Let's find actual conversation about what parity looks like. We know Chairwoman of Progressive Caucus, Chairwoman King, has talked about parity since the first day I've been in council. We need to have real conversations about what that means. But right now we are talking about getting the funds that we need to take care of issues. And if we don't accept those funds, trusted administrations will find where to get those funds, and people get shorted anyway. So I would ask you all to support accepting these funds, and then let's have a real conversation. If we're talking about appropriation and decisions made with that money without the accountability, let's all shut it down. But we should not choose to rescind the money when we need it to make sure we take care of people that need it. That's all of us. That's Black, brown, broke, and refugees that live here now. Thank you very much. Yes, Black, brown, Asian, broke. I put them under broke. Yes.
The chair.
All of us. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Alderwoman Sadlowski-Garza.
Thank you, Madam President. I just would really like to say there's a lot of good points that are being made here, but I really have to reiterate the fact that these people did not ask to come here. They did not ask to come here. These are men, women, and children that are human beings. We're dealing with human beings here. They did not ask to come here. We're a welcoming city. Let's not turn into Ron DeSantis or Governor Abbott. We're better than that. Please, let's vote to accept this money to help these people, and let's start to work together as a whole so that we can help everybody in the city of Chicago, regardless of your skin color.
Thank you, Alderman Garza. The chair recognizes Alderwoman Haddon.
Thanks, Madam President. We're at that time. You guys know we've done this a lot. We're approaching 1 p.m., so I'll maybe try and bring us down a little bit to remind everybody that at this time, we end up talking a lot. We get really hot because we're hangry. So if you brought snacks, have a snack, and it's going to help you make a better decision. There have been a lot of good points, and I want to lift up my colleague from the 20th Ward, Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, to say that she has been done wrong. It's hard. I know we get really busy. We have so many things that our departments are doing, and oftentimes we have to do a lot of work, maybe more than we anticipated we'd have to do in order to be heard and to kind of get collaborative voices to a table. What happened with the facility and Alderwoman Taylor's ward and the way that it happened was not the way it should have happened. So I understand her frustration. But looking at the votes on this, this is no offense to Madam President, I know that we are going to have a different mayor, and we got a lot of folks trying to be independent in council now. Now you're trying to be independent in council. Now we're trying to have an independent voice. To Chairman Villegas's comments, if you care so much about helping folks in our community, you should have been here for Bring Chicago Home. Even if you weren't going to vote for it, you should have been here for the debate. If you care so much about helping everyone else, our options, and respectfully, Chairman Irvin, because we got to have lunch after this together. I'm not mad at anybody. But our options are not just the purse holding. It's not just appropriation. It's legislation, right? That's also, we have power in that. And I'm excited about working with the folks who are going to be in this body in the next 4 years to tackle some of these big problems. But we can't do it if we are turning away resources that we desperately need. I'll give you an example of why this matters, not just for the asylum seekers, but for the existing residents. It's the same people and the same organizations, largely, that are doing the work to help our constituents. So next week at Toohey Park, which is a Chicago Park District, the Park District will begin enforcing their rules for curfew. Over the last almost 20 months, we've had as low as 2 to 3 people like we have now, and upwards of 40 homeless people living in that park. And most of those people, they have not been asylum seekers, they haven't been recent arrivals. And the resources that it's taken for the DFSS team and our partners to house more than 84 people, extended over a period of time, the health resources, the mental health resources, the housing resources, the coordination with streets and sanitation, with the Park District, those are people's hours. And they were doing that same work while we were receiving migrants and asylum seekers. So the same people at the Department of Family and Support Services that were helping me to house homeless people living in my park were the same people that I was working with when we had migrants staying at Leon Beach Park, right? When we were trying to coordinate to make sure people had their resources. I really hope people can stop talking right now. Yo, like really, guys, give me a moment. I'd appreciate it for the side conversations. This is important. They're the same people. We needed more than $50 million from the state, and they're only giving us 20. Turning away this money now would be unwise, to put it kindly, and I think would bode poorly for a council that looks to show itself to be independent and smart and fiscally responsible. If these are the things that you are aspiring to, then you need to reconsider your vote. You need to support this money, and we need to continue the work that people have started to do to make sure that we are an empowered council that can have these discussions together, that can legislate, but turning away $20 million because you haven't felt like you're part of the conversation yet would be very foolish. We are not foolish. You've been selected by your constituents. People are here because your constituents want you to be here. So show them what you're here for. Take the $20 million, set up the meetings that we need to have to be a part of the conversation, but just on all practical purposes, I'm serious, right? Helping homeless people in my ward, helping people, my senior services, this money is going to support the same people doing the work for multiple populations. Not taking this money is hurting our city. Right? Like $5 in the hand of DFSS is $5 in the hand of DFSS. So please support this. Let's not drag this out any further. And for anyone who feels like your voice has not been heard, we've had conversations that we've organized together regionally around the north side. Let's get conversations going. Like, I am happy to lead those conversations and to get people together, but please don't let this get in the way of us doing what we need to do responsibly as the city of Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Haddon. Alderwoman Taylor.
14% of my ward is Latinx. Latinx folks who voted in my community voted overwhelmingly for me because I heard them clearly say they felt like they weren't a part of the 20th ward. So I make sure that there's somebody that speaks Spanish in my office. I make sure that when I send out newsletters, it's translated. I make sure when I have ward night, there's a translator there. So don't make this about black against brown. This is about nobody said, why did we not have the conversation about what should happen with people we're supposed to be helping? This is a country full of migrants, but I want people to remember, black people were imports. Don't forget that. And so at the end of the day, this is not me against y'all. What I'm asking and what should have happened was we should have forged a conversation. We have special meetings for every damn thing else. We should have had a special meeting about this. This was not fair to me nor my community. But to try to make this about black against brown, stop it. Especially on my part, stop it. Because that's like this ain't about for me. Now, this administration has pitted us against each other. Let's say that. Won't nobody say that, though. Because you met with the Latino caucus, but you didn't meet with the black caucus, but the majority of the camps are where? In the black community. This is about you all not being respectful to us. And y'all sitting up acting like y'all had a conversation with me. Y'all came to me in October after the fact, after you had already spent $1.5 million in a school that was closed. That my community is saying, what will happen with this school? So don't give me that crap now. Because nobody came to my rescue and said, let's help us figure this out. But now all of a sudden it's, they ain't eating. Neither are we. Ain't nobody eating around here. We picking and choosing who we take care of. Yes, we are a sanctuary city. But we also can talk about how the black migrants not getting on the bus coming to Chicago. How the Haitian people and the Africans are being mistreated. Where's that conversation at? I don't hear that. And so we should DMP this, but I guess it's too late for that. But it's always the we got to think about. We weren't thinking about that when we talked about marijuana and the people who went to jail for it. Got picked on and didn't get none of those contracts. We got one majority black-owned dispensary, just one. And this was supposed to be about black and brown people restoring what we took from them when it come to marijuana. So don't give me that. When we was doing the Sabo Drive, all this talk about let's not change it, let's not do this to honor the black man who discovered Chicago. Why would it always come to black people? It's always let's wait. No. At the end of the day, I'm a black woman, and I'm going to fight for black people all day long. That does not help. That does not make me forget about other people. Y'all talking about inhumane? What y'all been doing to black people in this city is inhumane. The thing I'm dealing with Norfolk that I've been dealing with, they displaced 400 families. They didn't make sure people got jobs. These people got $30,000 for homes we know they paid $60,000 and $80,000 for. And nobody said nothing. We voted unanimously. And I wasn't even here. And I'm made to clean it up. So don't give me that black versus brown crap now. Because where was y'all then? I'll wait. Absolutely. So us voting no for me, I did rescind my vote. I did want to DMP this so that we can have the conversation. Y'all voted for whatever reason. Oh, because I'm a black woman and I always got to say, well, good luck or not liking me. Join the club. We got damn jackets. But at the end of the day, we got to start to do things that reflect what everybody needs in the city. Stop picking and choosing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The chair Mr. Blakemore, please, sir. Do not comment on this city council debate. Do not, sir. The chair recognizes Alderman Rebollos.
Wow. We finally discussed this. Madam Chair, I could say, come on, man. Let's get this going. We're listening to you. You are all correct, everyone that's spoken here today. And we hope to have a meeting very soon, as Byron Sixto Lopez mentioned earlier. But the fact is that the money is here. We don't want to send that money back. They need to send more money. Fewer people, more money, because we're going to burden the end of it. It's going to be on our table, ladies and gentlemen, and we need to take care of it. You're all right. You're all correct in saying what you said. But we need to work together on this. Thank you, Madam President.
Let's take the vote. And just to be clear, after all the debate, a yes vote is to accept the 925 appropriation. A no vote is to reject it.
Voting is now open. Just hit refresh if you're not seeing the current vote. If you're having difficulties, please raise your hand and someone will come over to you.
Alderman LaPaula, assistance? No?
Okay, I'll now be calling on the aldermen who have not cast their vote. Alderman King? Alderman King, is he, oh, you put a no? Oh, you cast it, okay. She cast her own vote. Alderman Mitchell? He cast it, okay. And Alderman Villegas is not in the chambers. Okay, you can close the vote, Peter.
We done? The yeas are 32, the nays are 15. The motion passes. Alderman Kappelman on the motion for reconsideration.
Madam President, I move to reconsider the vote.
All those in favor of the motion for... The vote is closed, sir, I'm sorry. All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration signify by saying aye. All those opposed say nay. The nays have it, the motion for reconsideration failed. Be in the room and vote. All right. The chair recognizes Alderman Villegas.
I had to step out, take care of some personal business. I'd like the record to reflect that I would be supporting that ordinance that just passed.
The record will so reflect. Chairman Dow.
The subcommittee on the Chicago Recovery met on March 8th for a subject matter hearing to discuss affordable housing and arts and culture. No votes were taken at this meeting, Madam Chair. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Alderman Dow. That concludes the second committee report. We have 7 more to go. Next up, the Committee on Economic, Capital, and Technology Development. Chairman Villegas.
Madam President, members of the City Council, reporting for the Committee on Economic, Capital, and Technology Development, which met on Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. The committee held a virtual meeting and recommends passage of the following items. Chairman, items 1 through 5 on the agenda are a series of appointments and reappointments to various special service areas collectively voted on by the committee members, introduced by Mayor Lightfoot during the February 1st, 2023 City Council meeting. Please note that items 3 and 4, the committee received substitute letters from the law department correcting language in the original letters. Both substitutes were circulated and accepted by the committee. The appointments and reappointments, as noted by items 1 through 5, are as follows. Reappointment of James Ludwig to SSA number 18, North Halsted Commission located in the 44th and 46th wards. Reappointment of Lori Parrott to SSA number 64, Walden Parkway Commission located in the 19th ward. Appointments of Jeremy Wright and Kendra Boyd to SSA number 59-2022, 59th Street Commission located in the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 23rd wards. Reappointment of Lynette Waslewski to SSA number 13, Stockyards Commission located in the 3rd, 11th, 12th, and 20th wards. I move for passage of these appointments and reappointments by the first favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 6 is a resolution calling for the City of Chicago to affirm its support for the administration of the Economic Census and Partnerships Maximizing Economic Census Response Rates that I introduced at the January 18th, 2023 City Council meeting. I'd like to thank Mr. Charles Brandy and Ms. Carrie Kleinsnit from the U.S. Census Bureau for their insightful testimony and valuable contributions to our committee. Additionally, I'd like to thank the committee members who asked questions and were engaged in the conversation. I move for passage of this resolution by the first favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
The last item on the agenda was a very informative subject matter hearing where no vote was taken by the committee members. Specifically, the hearing concerned TREC Human Service Centers and their efforts to build a strong, resilient, and equitable economic recovery development through investments that support long-term growth and opportunity. I'd like to thank Duan Kia, managing partner at FBKR Brands, along with Leslie Martinez, Africa Porter, and Craig Wimberly, who provided testimony that inspired and gave our committee and members of a blueprint of what a holistic approach to community care looks like. Additionally, I'd like to thank committee members who asked questions and were engaged in the conversation. Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairman Villegas. Next up, the Committee on Housing and Real Estate. Chairman Osterman.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the City Council, reporting for your Housing on Committee on Housing and Real Estate, which held a remote meeting, meeting on March 8th, 2023. The committee has a series of reports recommending the passage of the following. Item number 1 is the sale of city-owned property at 6708 South Green Street to Pierre Williams under the ANLAP program in the 6th Ward. I move passage of this item by the first favorable roll call of the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider. Hearing
no objections, so ordered.
Item number 2 is the sale of city-owned property at 5120 South Wood Street to Maria Sanchez under the ANLAP program in the 16th Ward. Make the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Item 3 is a sale of city-owned property at 7146 South Artesian Avenue to Juan Henriquez and Cita Diaz under the ANLAP program in the 18th Ward.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Item number 4 is the sale of city-owned property at 713 North Holman Avenue to Autumn Pierce under the ANLAP program in the 27th Ward. I make the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Item 5 is the sale of city-owned property at 5030-32 South Indiana Avenue to Stephen Maurice Epting and Felisa Epting under the ANLAP program in the 3rd Ward. I make the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Item number 6 is negotiated sale and execution of redevelopment agreement, city-owned property at 5036-5044 South Prairie to 5050 Prairie LLC in the 3rd Ward. I make the same motion if there's no objection.
Objections, so ordered.
Item 7 is a sale of city-owned property for redevelopment to Urban Equities for the development of a community center and commercial kitchen and rental space with parking located at 5021 South Wabash in the 3rd Ward. I make the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Item number 8 is a quitclaim deeds transfer of city property at 1733 North Francisco Avenue to Trujillo and Sophia Miranda and Sarah Mills in the 1st Ward. I make the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Item number 9 is the Adopt a Landmark grant funding agreement with Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church for preservation work including masonry, roofing, and gutters located at 4501 South Vincennes Avenue in the 3rd Ward. I make the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Item number 10 was held in committee. And item number 11 was the quarterly report for the Department of Housing. Madam President, this concludes my...
The chair recognizes Alderman Tunney.
Thank you, Madam President. And just for clarification, I think Chairman Osterman, on item number 2, you said 5120 Southwood, but the report says 5130.
Thank you for catching that at 5130.
And also you mentioned on item number 5, you said 5030 South Indiana, where it's actually 5230, at least on the narrative.
Thank you, Chairman Tunney.
Okay. I just know when it comes to zoning, we want to make sure we're doing the same thing. Okay, for the record, thank you very much.
With Chairman Tunney's assistance, that concludes my report. Madam.
Thank you, Chairman Osterman. Next up, the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Vice Chair Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on behalf of Chairman Mitz, reporting for your Committee on License and Consumer Protection, in which a virtual meeting was held on March 13th. The following items were passed out of committee. 5 ordinances, all 2023 series, the first being 1043, lifting subsection 460023 in the first ward. Ordinance number 985, adding subsection 46023 in the 16th ward. Ordinance 1020, lifting subsection 46023 in the 21st ward. Ordinance 897, lifting subsection 46022 in the 35th ward. Ordinance 991, lifting subsection 46022 in the 48th ward. I move that the City Council concur in the recommendations of the Committee on License and pass these matters on the same roll call as the first favorable vote in the Committee on Finance and subsequent unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up, the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety, Chairman Burnett.
Thank you, Madam President. Reporting for your Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety, for which a meeting was held on Friday, March 3rd, 2023. Before the committee, there were 824 items. There were 822 routine items that passed and 2 routine items that did not pass. There were 2 substitute ordinances. The first substitute ordinance, 02023-874, introduced by Mayor Lori Lightfoot and co-sponsored by Alderman Riley, Alderman Hopkins, Alderman LaSpada, Alderman Martin, Alderman Vasquez, and Alderman Villegas for the amendment of Municipal Code Title IX by creating a new chapter 9-108 entitled Smart Streets Pilot Program, adding new section 9-64-175 regarding Smart Loading Zone Pilot Program, modifying section 9-100-030 concerning responsibility for violation and penalty. Madam Chair, the next ordinance that was passed, Alderman Martin has something that he wants to say about it. Is Alderman Martin? Oh, okay. Okay, he don't want to say anything. The second substitute ordinance 02022-1980, introduced by 47 Ward Alderman Matthew Martin, which is an ordinance for the amendment of Municipal Code Title 10 by adding a new chapter 10-14 regarding transportation planning requirements that pass. If there's no objections, I move for the passage of these ordinances in the omnibus. That concludes my report. Thank you, Madam President.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. The chair recognizes Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that was one of the ones I was a no vote on in committee. That was who?
Which item?
No,
sir?
I thought you talked about the one with the giving the cameras taking pictures of it if you are in a parking zone. I thought that's what you just spoke about, Chairman. I know I was a no on it in committee.
So let it be noted that Alderman Moore like to be counted as no on the substitute ordinance. The first substitute ordinance 02023-874. Also,
so noted.
Also, Alderman Pat Dow.
So noted.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Next up, the Committee on Special Events, Cultural Affairs, and Recreation, Chairman Spazzato. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please keep your voices down as the committee?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to ask that. Thank you. Madam President, members of the City Council, Madam President, before I give my report, I would like to say something. So I know it's inappropriate, but there's been a lot of inappropriateness today, so I might as well jump in. So my inappropriateness is going to be of a different tone and my inappropriateness is actually thank you, Madam President, for having the faith in me to lead one of your committees. I don't know, I'm guessing this is going to be my last committee report, certainly for the Happy Committee. I don't know what's going to happen with the new leadership, if they're going to want me to be a chairman, if they're not going to want me, if I'm going to have the Happy Committee again, I don't know. But I want to thank you and the rest of the City Council for having the faith in me. It was a joy and a pleasure to serve the city, and my committee was especially, I say, the best committee of all the committees. They were very punctual. We attended, I would guess our attendance rate was higher than any other committee. So I personally want to thank everyone that was on the committee for your input. Although everything was pretty easy, we only had one or two contentious things in 4 years, but I really, really appreciate you for having the faith in me and the council. And moving forward, everybody, I know some people said some really good stuff today. Alderman Rabora said one of the best things when he said everybody was right, and everybody was right on a certain thing. But people, we need to start thinking about praising in public and scolding in private. This mayor and me, our politics don't align. Right, Mayor? They don't align. You don't have to answer that. I know they don't align. But you know what? I always felt I respected you. I always felt you respected me. You might have MF'd me in private sometimes. Sorry, let the cat out of the bag. And I said the same to you. And that's the way things should be. Praise in public, scold in private, people, okay? Let's try to take that up. Let's work with the new mayor. Let's do the best we can. But this grandstanding and calling people out, and I guess maybe I'm doing the same thing right now, and it's unintended of calling people out, but I certainly know some people were calling me out when they said some stuff. But whatever, I'm a big boy, I can handle it. But I just want to once again thank you so much. Thank the City Council for having the faith in me and the honor and the privilege of serving you. With that, reporting for your Committee on Special Events, Cultural Affairs, Recreation, also known as the Happy Committee, a meeting which was held on March 7, 2023. The committee recommends passage of the following item. 2023-863, intergovernmental agreement with Chicago Park District for installation of weather stations and air monitors at 2800 South Sacramento, 6743 South Kedzie Avenue, Beach House concession stand at Calumet Beach at 8901 South Avenue G and 11712 South Ada Street. I move passage. Excuse me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
I move passage of this item by the first favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider. Mayor, hearing no objection. I'm sorry, Mayor. That is.
That's my part.
Associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider. Sorry. You're supposed to say hearing no objection. I'm going to blame it on the distraction, so.
Before I say that, I just want to say, Chairman Sposato, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And yes, our politics are probably radically different from each other, but I've always appreciated your friendship and your support and your candor. And that will always be the same. So thank you, and hearing no objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President. This concludes my possibly final report. Thank you.
Next up, the Committee on Transportation and Public Way, Chairman Brookins.
Thank you, Madam President. Reporting on your Committee on Transportation and Public Way, a meeting which was held on March 9th, 2023, the following ordinances were passed by a majority of the members present. Page 2 include one ordinance for grants of privileges introduced by the local alderman from Ward 50. Page 3 and 4 include 10 ordinances for miscellaneous items introduced by the local alderman from Wards 1, 24, 28, 33, 35, 42, 45, 48. Page 5 includes one re-subdivision ordinance located in the 20th Ward. And page 6 includes one vacation ordinance located in the 10th Ward. Madam President, if there are no objections, I move passage of these items by the last most favorable roll call vote for the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up, the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards, Chairman Tunney.
Madam President and members of the City Council, presenting a series of reports for your Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards, which held a meeting on February 23rd of 2023. These reports are grouped for convenience. The following items were passed by a majority of members present. Page 1 contains the historical landmark fee waiver for the property commonly known as 6402 South Green Street in the 16th Ward. I move passage of this item by the last most favorable roll call vote of the Finance Committee report and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider. Pages 1 through 12 contains various map amendments in the 1st, 2nd, 6th, 10th, 11th, 17th, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 32nd, 36th, 40th, 42nd, 46th, and 47th wards. I move passage of these items by the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Page 13 contains various large signs over 100 square feet in area, 24 feet above grade in the 1st, 22nd, 25th, 28th, 32nd, 33rd, 42nd, 43rd, 44th, and 45th wards. I move passage of these items by the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
All right. That concludes my first report. Madam President, members of the City Council, presenting a series of reports for your Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards, which held a meeting on March 14th, 2023. These reports are grouped for convenience. The following items were passed by the majority of members present. Page 1 contains document number 02021-2131, a code amendment that modifies general district standards for indoor and outdoor operations and use standards for outdoor walk-up service windows. I move passage of this item by the last most favorable roll call vote of the Finance Committee and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider, noting that Alderman David Moore requested to be recorded as voting no on this item.
With that exception noted, hearing no further objection, so ordered.
Before I move on, though, I know Alderman Martin doesn't want to say anything, but we worked together long and hard on this to help small businesses, so thank you. All right, next item. Page 1 also contains the historical landmark designation of the Pioneer Arcade located at 1535 North Pulaski Road in the 26th Ward. I move passage of this item by the same motion if there is no objection. Pages 1 through 4 contain various map amendments in the 1st, 2nd, 5th, 10th, 17th, 19th, and 26th and 30th wards. I move passage of these items by the same motion if there is no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
And lastly, page 5 contains various large signs over 100 square feet in area, 24 feet above grade, in the 2nd, 3rd, 26th, 46th, and 47th wards. I move passage of these items by the same motion if there is no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
And Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairman Tunney. Last but not least, the Joint Committee on Health and Human Relations and Workforce Development. Chairman Garza, are you going to be leading the discussion? The chair recognizes Chairman Garza.
Can you turn me on?
Can you turn the microphone on?
Not literally. Really?
One moment, Chairman. You've turned on Alderman Beal, but not Alderman Garza.
I know we look alike, but
There we go.
it's me. Thank you, Madam President and members of the City Council. Reporting for your Joint Committee on Health and Human Services and Workforce Development, which held a meeting on March 14th, 2023, there was one item on the agenda, 02019-9497, an ordinance mandating that city service providers have binding provisions between the service provider and any labor organizations representing or seeking to represent the service provider's employees be party to a labor peace agreement to prevent the disruption of essential services. A substitute was adopted by the committee, SO2019-9497, and adopted by the Joint Committee. I'm respectfully calling for a roll call on this item. Okay, I'm going to rescind my ask for a roll call. Hearing no objection. Now I gotta. So now we got to vote. Now we got to vote to rescind the roll call. But then we got to vote to withdraw the motion. We got to vote to withdraw the motion.
Point of clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe that there are members of the body that wish to speak to this matter. And I want to make sure that people are able to speak if they choose to. Looks like Alderman Lopez is one of the people that wants to speak to this matter. So before we take a roll call vote, I would encourage any members of the body who wish to speak to do so, and then we will proceed to a roll call. But as I said, there are members who had raised their hand, looking like they wanted to speak. So I think we're going to give people an opportunity to speak, and then we will go to a roll call. The chair recognizes Alderman Taliaferro. Can you please turn on his microphone?
Although there has been a roll call vote called, the chairman has to recognize the roll call vote. The chairman has to recognize the motion in order for that motion to be before the floor. Since the Madam President did not recognize that motion, then we can proceed.
I'm not sure I understand your point. The chair recognizes Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to clarify to my colleague, roll call is not a motion. It's not a motion, doesn't need to be recognized, it's automatic. So also when the question's been called, that ends debate. A vote is taken. Those are the rules in the book. Thank you, Madam President.
What do you want to do? Are you?
I'd like to call the question. Hearing no objection.
The chair recognizes Alderman Lopez. The chair recognizes Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe the chair made the motion including a roll call, and if she's going to rescind it, as we just learned 2 hours ago, you need a motion to rescind that roll call motion. So unless there was a motion, unless we are voting to rescind her motion, as we did to Alderman Taylor, we have to proceed accordingly.
Alderman Lopez is correct. Having called for a roll call, having called for a roll call and then a request to rescind it.
Madam President, I'm
Ladies and
sorry, I
gentlemen,
can't hear you, Madam President.
Please. Having called for a roll call and then changed your mind to rescind it, pursuant to Rule 16, as we just experienced not that long ago, we need to have a vote on whether or not you will rescind your motion for a roll call. I'm not sure why there's a rush to cut off debate and discussion on this, but so be it. So we will have a vote on
To rescind the roll
Chairman
call.
Garza's request to rescind her request for a roll call vote. So a yes vote is to rescind a yes vote is in favor of rescinding the request for a roll call vote. A no is to go forward with a roll call vote. Does everyone understand what you're voting on? All right. Jeff.
Okay, please hit refresh. The vote is open. Please make sure you hit refresh and cast your vote. Okay, I will now call on the aldermen who have not cast their vote. Alderman LaSpada. Alderman Dowell. Thank you. Alderwoman King. Alderwoman Harrison. Okay. Alderwoman Lee. Okay. Alderman Curtis. Would you like to give us a voice vote? Alderman Curtis is a yes. It's up there. Alderman Wagasback. Alderman Wagasback would like to be recorded as a yes. Alderman Kappelman. Alderman Kappelman would like to be recorded as a yes. Alderman Osterman is not in the chambers. And Alderman Lee. Okay. Okay, everyone in the chambers has recorded their vote. The vote is now closed.
So the yeas are 22, the nays are 25. So we will now proceed to a roll call vote on this matter. Yes. So this vote is on the substance of the ordinance. The chair recognizes Alderman Irvin.
So, since when does this body not debate? I mean, we essentially have not, we're essentially saying that we do not want to debate the issue. We just want to cast a vote. I mean, this is some people have not had an opportunity, if they're not on the committee, to weigh in on this matter. And we just want to vote without listening to our colleagues' debate on this. I think this is a little different in how we have operated. And again, I mean, the vote is the vote, but we are a deliberative body, and debate is part of that conversation. So I'm just, if that is what we're doing today, which it sounds like is what we're doing, I think that's a little different than how we've operated in the past. But again, if that's the will of the body, just understand that if we're going to stifle debate, then this is a different conversation. So let's be careful in that notion. Thank you.
Please cast your votes.
Okay. We're opening the vote. Okay, the vote is now open. Please hit refresh and cast your vote. LaWanda? Alderman? Oh, she's got it. I will now call on the alderman whose votes are not on the board. Alderman Dowell, would you like to be recorded? No? Oh, okay, sorry. Alderman King. Yeah, I'm sorry. Per the rules, once you're called to vote, you must cast a vote if you're in the chambers. Alderman Dowell, would you like to give a voice vote? Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot move on. It's just like when we called. Okay, Alderman Dowell would like to be recorded as a yes. Alderman Sawyer is not in the chambers. Alderman Mitchell is not in the chambers. Alderman Beal, not in the chambers. Alderman Burnett, not in the chambers. Alderman Osterman is not in the chambers. The vote is now closed.
All right, the yeas are 41, the nays are 2. The motion carries. Alderman Kappelman on the motion for reconsideration. Ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, please keep your comments and your actions restrained. I don't want to have to clear the gallery. Alderman Kappelman.
Madam President, I move to reconsider the vote.
All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration signify by saying aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. The nays have it. Chairman Garza, back to you.
This concludes the report on the Committee on Health and Human Services and Workforce Development. Thank you, Madam President, and everybody in the body.
Thank you. That concludes our committee reports. Next up, the agreed calendar. Chairman Harris.
I've received from the clerk, Anna M. Valencia, a total of 131 proposed items in the agreed calendar consisting of contributory, commemorative, and tributary resolutions for the following aldermen. Alderman Hopkins, Alderman Dow, Alderman Hairston, Alderman Harris, Alderman Quinn, Alderman Burke, Alderman Lopez, Alderman Coleman, Alderman Brookins, Alderman Rodriguez, Alderman Tabarez, Alderman Mitz, Alderman Sposato, Alderman Riley, Alderman Tunney, Alderman Kappelman, Alderman Osterman. I move these in omnibus, Madam President.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Next up, new business. The clerk will call the wards, beginning with the first.
Claims, free permits, license fee exemptions, which are referred to the Committee on Finance. Zoning amendments, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Traffic regulations, traffic control signals, and traffic signs, which are referred to the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. Grants of privilege on and over the public way, which are referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. And exceptions from physical barrier requirement for commercial driveway alley access to parking facilities, which are referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Laspada, Alderman Martin, and Alderman Haddon have a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code Chapter 2-4 by adding a new section 2-4-120 regarding establishment of gender-based violence task force, which is referred to the Committee on Health and Human Relations. Alderman Hopkins and Alderman Burnett have a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code Section 4-60-023 to allow additional packaged goods licenses on a portion of North Noble Street, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Hopkins and others have a proposed resolution to call for 103rd Illinois General Assembly to pass House Bill 3162, offering first responders disability benefits due to chronic effects of COVID-19, which is referred to the Committee on Public Safety. Alderman King has a proposed order for a historical landmark fee waiver for the property at 3300 and 3304 South Giles Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman King also has a proposed order for a historical landmark fee waiver for the property at 3321 South Prairie Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman King also has a proposed order for the issuance of permits for signboards at 8 East 9th Street, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Hairston has a proposed resolution to call for the Department of Transportation to give explanation regarding lack of installation of left turn signal at intersection of 69th Street and South Stony Island Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Sawyer has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as Honorary Prince Asel Ben Israel Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. And a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as Honorary Reverend C.B. Taylor Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Lee has proposed orders for the issuance of permits for signboards, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Quinn has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Chapter 4-17, and adding a new section 4-17-045 regarding ordinances amending restricted residential zones due to ward redistricting, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Quinn has a proposed ordinance for designation of the 23rd Precinct of the 13th Ward as a restricted residential zone prohibiting additional shared housing units and vacation rentals, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Lopez has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code Section 9-68-026, modifying Comiskey Park permit parking area, which is referred to the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. Alderman Lopez also has a proposed order to call for the Department of Public Health
to vacate all agreements and public contracts with Walgreens Company and affiliates due to refusal to prescribe medically prescribed abortion-related medication, which is referred to the Committee on Health and Human Relations. Alderman Lopez also has a proposed resolution for expression of support for Indian Child Welfare Act, which is referred to the Committee on Health and Human Relations. Alderman Curtis has a proposed ordinance for authorization of development and use of facility in Durkin Park and adjacent property, which is referred to the Committee on Finance. Alderman O'Shea has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as Honorary Nicholas Maselli Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Brookins has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as McLaughlin McIrvin Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Brookins has a proposed order for the issuance of permits for signboards, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Rodriguez has a proposed ordinance for amendment of municipal code titles 2 and 6 by modifying various sections and adding new chapter 6-130 entitled Chicago Paid Leave Ordinance, which is referred to the Committee on Workforce Development. Alderman Rodriguez also has a proposed order for calling on the Corporation Council to release Office of Inspector General's report regarding demolition of Crawford Power Plant in English and Spanish, which is referred to the Committee on Ethics and Government Oversight. Alderman DeBarris has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code Section 4-60-023 to allow additional package goods licenses on portion of West 63rd Street, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman DeBarris also has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code Section 4-60-023 to allow additional package goods licenses on portions of West 63rd Street and South Holman Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman DeBarris also has a proposed order for the issuance of permits for signboards, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Maldonado has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as Francisco Frank Store de Leon Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Burnett has proposed orders for the issuance of permits for signboards, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Burnett and others have proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code Titles 2, 4, and 6 by modifying various sections regarding criminal history, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Reboyes has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as May 3rd Polish Constitution Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Villegas has a proposed resolution to call for Congress to pass House Joint Resolution removing deadline for ratification of Equal Rights Amendment and establish 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which is referred to the Committee on Health and Human Relations. Alderman Villegas also has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as Honorary Anthony Caronado Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Villegas and Alderman Martin have a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Chapter 10-8, by modifying Section 10-8-180 and adding a new Article 7 entitled Chicago Plow the Sidewalks Pilot Program, which is referred to the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. Alderman Vasquez has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Chapter 2-40, to further increase accessibility to city services, which is referred to the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations. Alderman Vasquez and others have a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Section 9-52-010, regarding bicyclists' rights on city roadways, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Napolitano has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as Millie Strong Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Riley has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Statements 5 and 12 of Plan Development 1092, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Riley also has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as George W. Berry Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Riley also has proposed orders for the issuance of permits for signboards, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Tunney has proposed orders for the issuance of permits for signboards, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Osterman has a proposed ordinance for an honorary street designation as Honorary Carlo Ristorante Way, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Silverstein has proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Section 4-60-023, to allow additional package goods licenses on portion of North Lincoln Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Silverstein also has proposed orders for the issuance of permits for signboards, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Your Honor, that concludes the presentation of aldermanic introductions.
Clerk? Next up, approval of the journal. Alderman Mitchell.
Madam President, I'm not aware of any corrections to the journal from the February 1st, 2023 regular meeting and move that it be approved.
Ordered. Next up, unfinished business. Alderman Mitchell.
I am not aware of any unfinished business.
Next up, miscellaneous business, Alderman Mitchell.
I am not aware of any miscellaneous business.
The date and time of the next meeting?
I've handed up an ordinance to the clerk setting the date and time for the next meeting.
Excuse me. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the ordinance?
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Chicago. The next regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Chicago shall be held on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023, beginning at 10 o'clock a.m. in the City Council chambers in the second floor of City Hall, 121 North LaSalle Street, Chicago, Illinois. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage.
Alderman Mitchell?
I move passage in the omnibus.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Alderman Mitchell in the omnibus.
Madam President, I move that matters in the omnibus be passed by the first most favorable roll call vote by the Committee on Finance and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Alderman Mitchell on the motion for adjournment.
There being no further business before this body, I move that we adjourn.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.